Chapter 31-38. Heavenly Flame? Another kind of heavenly flame? If this kind of heavenly flame was added, wouldn't it mean that Longao had a total of 3 types of heavenly flame? 3 types of heavenly flame and 4 chaos divine beasts. Longao could no longer be described as heaven-defying, he was simply a monster. Even the heavenly demonic flame was a little dumbfounded. How did the other party do it? Even if he saw it with his own eyes, he was still a little unwilling to believe it. However, the heavenly demonic flame stared at the flame on Longao's finger, as if sensing something, and roared in horror, "You actually got the flame of chaos? Flame of chaos?" Hearing the words flame of chaos, except for Xiao He, the rest of the Qiu and the others were shocked, because they all knew very well what the flame of chaos meant. The flame of chaos was ranked first among the 23 types of heavenly flame. They had never heard of anyone who could subdue the flame of chaos. Was this for real? They looked at their boss in a daze. They had seen powerful people, but they had never seen such a powerful person. They were very excited. Everyone knew very well what it meant for their boss to get 3 types of heavenly flame. "How did you do it?" The heavenly demonic flame was very shocked. He really wanted to know how the other party did it. It was already unbelievable that Xiaohua and the Burning Heart Flame Lotus chose to follow the other party, but now there was the Flame of Chaos, a total of 3 types of heavenly flame. The other party actually took out a total of 3 types of heavenly flame. It was too terrifying. Whether or not I got the Flame of Chaos has nothing to do with you. I just want to tell you that with the help of 3 types of heavenly flame and 4 chaos divine beasts, I am confident that after 10,000 years, I can succeed in proving my Tao. Longao hadn't said anything about his 9-revolution chaos mantra and chaotic sacred body. The heavenly demonic flame shook his head. Even so, I won't believe you. If he believed it, then he wouldn't be the heavenly demonic flame. As if he had already guessed the other party's thoughts, Longao smiled and said, "One last thing, this is all I can do. Whether you agree or not, it's up to you." Just when the heavenly demonic flame was curious and didn't know what confidence the other party had, a small tree appeared in Longao's hand. Chaos tree? He kept retreating. 3 heavenly flames and 4 chaos divine beasts. Now there was even a chaos tree. How did they do it? This time, the heavenly demonic flame was completely stunned. He really couldn't figure out just how many more things the other party had. Heavenly demonic flame, as long as you follow me, after 10,000 years, you and I will help each other and attain our Tao together. How about that? Submit? No, it's not submission. Not submitting? If it wasn't submission, what was it? How could Longao not know what the Heaven You Devil Flame was thinking? After thinking for a while, he said, "Xiao He and the others are all my friends. There's no such thing as submitting or not submitting." The Heaven You Devil Flame fell completely silent. The other party had too much confidence, especially the Primal Chaos Flame and the Primal Chaos Tree. They had appeared on the same person at the same time. He would not believe that there was nothing fishy about it even if he was beaten to death. Agree? Even if I promise you, I can't leave the heavenly devil abyss. Why? Longao had already guessed that the Heaven You Devil Flame was definitely unable to leave this place. There was something fishy going on, it was just that he wanted to know before, but the other party was unwilling to tell him. It was just as Longao had guessed. If it was before, the Heaven You Devil Flame would definitely not say a word, but now it was different. After seeing the other party's confidence, the Heaven You Devil Flame was really shocked. Back then, ever since I broke through to the half-step Tao validation realm, I thought of countless ways to truly reach the Tao validation realm. It's just that it's easier said than done. Longao nodded in agreement. When he created the 9-revolution chaos formula, he did not succeed in reaching the Tao validation realm. From this, one could imagine how difficult it was to reach the Tao validation realm. You already know what happened later. When I planned to suppress Tao Tai and was about to devour the other party, I was suddenly seriously injured by the heavenly devil abyss. I haven't been able to recover yet. Huh? What was going on? Seriously injured by the heavenly devil abyss? Longao had guessed countless possibilities, but he had never thought that it would be such a result. Although the heavenly devil abyss was one of the primal chaos forbidden lands, it seemed impossible to forcibly attack a half-step Tao validation realm martial artist. What was going on? Was there something fishy about the heavenly devil abyss? As if he could guess what Longao was thinking, the heaven you devil flame said, "Not to mention you, even I don't know what's going on. Why did the heavenly devil abyss take the initiative to attack me? At that time, I didn't even have a chance to resist." Nodding, Longao already knew what the heaven you devil flame meant. Even if the other party wanted to leave with him, it seemed that he could not leave the heavenly devil abyss. In the end, the heavenly devil abyss sealed the heaven you devil flame, which was indeed a troublesome matter. If the heaven you devil flame chose to submit to him like Tao Tai, it was completely conceivable that the other party would not agree. If he did not choose to do so, it would be almost impossible to leave with the heaven you devil flame. After thinking about it, Longao finally said, "If you trust me, you can go first." Waving his hand, the heaven you devil flame naturally knew what the other party wanted to say. He said coldly, "Impossible, I'd rather stay here forever than choose to submit to you." The heaven you devil flame was not a fool. If he really chose to submit to the other party, then when the time came, he would not be able to control his own life and death. He would never do something that he was not confident in. He sighed deeply in his heart. If he did not do this, he would not be able to take the heaven you devil flame away. Longao also had a helpless expression. However, Xiao He was angered and said coldly, "Heaven you devil flame, who do you think you are? It's your fortune that my boss has taken a fancy to you. I can tell you clearly that even without you, we can still prove our Tao in 10,000 years. If you follow my boss, then you'll be taking advantage of him. If you don't choose to submit to my boss, you won't be able to enter his chaotic dantian. If that's the case, how can my boss take you away from here? You're really interesting, as if my boss is begging you. If you want to leave, then leave. If you don't want to leave, then stay here forever. When the time comes, don't talk about proving your Tao, you'd better pray that you don't get devoured by others." Longao did not stop Xiao He. In his view, the heaven you devil flame was indeed a little too arrogant. In the current situation, it was obvious that he was helping the other party, but the other party was dilly-dallying again and again, as if he was the one begging him. Longao did not dislike this feeling. Even if he wanted to subdue the heaven you devil flame in front of him, if it was really impossible, he would not continue to persist. The heaven you devil flame's expression was very ugly. Chapter 31-39. How should he choose? Choosing to submit, he was really a little unwilling. The heaven you devil flame did not know what kind of person Longao was. If he casually chose to submit, he would really have no chance at all. If he did not choose to submit, it was almost impossible to leave this place. He was in a dilemma. Longao did not urge him at all, and just waited quietly. Time flew. After an unknown amount of time. Is there no other way? Longao almost laughed out loud. In the end, the other party was still unwilling to submit to him, and was not willing to take the risk. He shrugged helplessly and said, "I don't know what's going on in the heavenly devil abyss, so if I want to take you away, I can only enter my chaotic dantian, just like the Taotai beast." Longao's meaning was very clear, that was, if he wanted to leave, he could only choose to submit. In fact, even if there were other ways, Longao might not take them out. Following and submitting were two completely different concepts. If he took the risk, it was impossible not to fight for the greatest benefit. There was no doubt about it. He would never back down. If the heaven you devil flame could choose to submit, Longao would be pleasantly surprised. In that case, he would have the help of 4 chaotic divine beasts and 4 types of heavenly flames. Looking at the entire chaos realm, there was almost no one who could do this, and Longao was the only one. Okay, I promise you. After thinking about it, the Heaven You Devil Flame was still prepared to leave this place. Who knew what the consequences would be if he continued to stay? Just as Longao had guessed. As soon as the Heaven You Devil Flame chose to submit, Longao immediately brought the Heaven You Devil Flame into the chaotic Dantian. The next second, the aura of the entire Heavenly Devil Abyss began to soar like a huge whirlpool, engulfing the entire Heavenly Devil Abyss. What the hell happened? Entering the chaotic Dantian, the Heaven You Devil Flame did not know what was going on outside, but the moment he entered, he suddenly felt that there was a change outside, so he asked impatiently. A very terrifying aura enveloped the area. Even if it's you, you will be suppressed again. Even though he had already guessed it, the Heavenly Demonic Flame was still a little scared. It seemed that the Heavenly Demonic Abyss was not simple. Fortunately, he had chosen to follow the other party. Otherwise, he did not dare to imagine what the consequences would be. Wait here, I'll go out and take a look. Why bother? If it was before, the Heaven You Demonic Flame wouldn't care about the other party's life or death. But now, the situation was completely different. How could Longao not know what the Heavenly You Devil Flame meant? Without saying anything, Longao's figure left and appeared in the Heavenly Devil Abyss. The Heavenly Fiend Abyss was now completely shrouded in endless demonic chi. Huge vortexes that could destroy the heavens and the earth looked terrifying. Array formation? Longao finally knew that there was such a super formation hidden in the Heavenly Devil Abyss. Even with his level of formations, he was shocked. One could imagine how terrifying this formation was. Mo Wu Tian? Longao did not linger. He did not want Wu Tian to discover him. If this were 10,000 years from now or when he was at his peak, he would not be afraid. But now it was not the right time to confront the demon god. As soon as Longao disappeared, Mo Wu Tian and Judas arrived. Mo Wu Tian's face was extremely gloomy, as ugly as it could get. He never imagined that the Heavenly Devil Abyss, which he had spent countless years setting up, would have someone come to cause trouble, and even take away the Taotai and the Heavenly Demonic Flame. Wu Tianmo had been prepared to subdue the Taotai and the Heavenly Demonic Flame, but he did not have the slightest confidence. After all, whether it was the Heavenly Demonic Flame or the Taotai, they were lofty existences. How could they so casually choose to submit? In this case, Wu Tianmo could delay the time until he was at his peak. Then, with the power of the array, he could make the Heavenly Demonic Flame and the Taotai yield. His chances of success would be much higher. Wu Tianmo had spent countless years setting up this array. He had spent a great deal of time and effort to draw the Heavenly Demonic Flame into the Heavenly Demonic Flame, and even had a pleasant surprise in the form of the Taotai. But now? He had no idea what was going on. Wu Tianmo racked his brains, but still couldn't figure out who was behind all this. Who in the entire primordial chaos could do such a thing? Inside his chaotic Dantian. What's going on? I know who it is. Longao did not expect the Heavenly Devil Abyss to be a trap dug by Wu Tianmo. But after thinking about it, it made sense. Wu Tianmo had something to do with such a terrifying demonic aura. Even if you beat him to death, he wouldn't believe it. Strong indeed. If it were anyone else, they would not have been able to pull this off. Who is it? The Heavenly Demonic Flame's anger exploded. He wanted to know who had set him up. If not for Longao's timely appearance, it was easy to imagine what would have happened. He could not figure out who in the entire primordial chaos could do such a thing. After all, he was a half-step vindication cultivator. Even a peak primordial chaos reincarnation realm cultivator would not dare to casually deal with him. It was utter nonsense. How could Longao not know what the heavenly demonic flame was thinking? He said, Mo Wutian, under normal circumstances, even with the help of the Taotai, he would not be your opponent. Even if it was a trap, the heavenly devil abyss itself is a place where demonic aura is concentrated. To deal with you, Mo Wutian set up a super array. At this point, Longao did not continue, but the meaning of his words was clear. The heavenly demonic flame was not a fool. Of course, he knew what Longao meant. This was a plot against him. I don't know Mo Wutian. Not knowing Mo Wutian, but knowing the Taotai, the heavenly demonic flame could not figure out why the other party wanted to deal with him. Why would he dare to deal with him? After all, if there was a slight mistake, the consequences would be obvious. Was the other party tired of living? He could not figure it out. Heavenly demonic flame, according to my guess, if nothing unexpected happens, Mo Wutian is taking such a risk to deal with you because he wants to subdue you and the Taotai to help him reach vindication. Dao validation was almost impossible. Longao knew very well that Mo Wutian was just giving it a try. However, even if he was in Mo Wutian's shoes, he would not give up so easily even if there was only a sliver of hope. After all, in the chaos reincarnation cycle, even a half-step Dao validation was not truly immortal and indestructible. In the end, one would still disappear in the chaos realm. If one wanted to be truly immortal, there was only one way, and that was to succeed in vindication. Chapter 3140. I'm going to kill Mo Wutian. Longao shook his head. Don't worry, you'll get your revenge one day. The most important thing now is to recover from your injuries. The heavenly demonic flame's injuries were very serious, and no one knew when he would recover. He was furious. But what could he do now? If he couldn't recover from his injuries and tried to take revenge, he would only die. The heavenly demonic flame was very clear about the current situation and looked at the chaos tree in front of him. Before the heavenly demonic flame could speak, Longao said, All of you stay here and cultivate. I believe that with the help of the chaos tree, your injuries will recover quickly. Mo Wutian is dead meat. The heavenly demonic flame smiled. For the first time, he realized that cooperating with this person was not a bad thing. Longao did not leave immediately. If he appeared now, wouldn't it be telling Mo Wutian that he was the one who did it? It was still the same sentence. Under such circumstances, it was not time to completely fall out with Mo Wutian. If he was alone, it would not matter at all. He had to consider everything for the family. Heavenly Devil Abyss. Boss, what should we do now? What should we do? Mo Wutian suppressed the endless anger in his heart. He knew that since the other party could do it without anyone noticing, and even avoid his formation, his identity was definitely not simple. It was very likely that he was another half-step Dao validation expert. As for why the other party did not deal with him, he did not know. But since the other party had succeeded, he would definitely not stay. He had already used the formation to cover the entire heavenly devil abyss, and did not find anything wrong. What did this mean? Without a doubt, the other party must have left the heavenly devil abyss. Even if he continued to lock on, it would be futile. Endless anger. Endless murderous intent. He had painstakingly planned for so many years, and was even prepared to rely on subduing the heavenly demonic flame and the Taotai divine beast to reach Dao validation. But now everything was for naught. It's all our fault for being careless. We'll stay here and cultivate for now. Hearing Mo Wutian's words, Longao was depressed. Since the man and beast had chosen to stay and cultivate, he did not need to ask to know how to leave the heavenly devil abyss. As long as he appeared, he would definitely be locked on by the formation. At that time, once Mo Wutian found out that he was the culprit, he could imagine the consequences. What should he do? Longao did not have a good solution for the time being. He could only stay in his chaotic dantian and cultivate. The Chaos Tree released endless life force. Regardless of whether it was the Chaos Divine Beasts or the Heavenly Flames, they all benefited greatly from devouring the life force. As for Longao, he did not feel anything at all. He had successfully broken through to the Peak God Emperor realm. If he wanted to continue to break through, or even reach the Peak God Ancestor realm, he would need to swallow a huge amount of energy. It was easy to imagine how much energy one needed to devour to break through to the next realm. Where would he go to devour? He felt helpless. He felt even more depressed. "Boss, there's something I need to talk to you about." Longao was very curious. He didn't know what Little Black wanted to say, but he still walked to the side and asked, "What's wrong? What happened?" Blackie thought for a while and said, "Boss, I wouldn't have done this in the past. Now that you have 4 chaotic divine beasts around you, including me, why don't we get rid of all the other chaotic divine beasts in one go? Then, you'll be able to upgrade the Chaos Divine Beast diagram." He chuckled. Blackie's meaning was very clear. How could Longao not understand? The Chaos Divine Beast diagram could only be considered as a powerful Chaos Divine weapon. However, it would be a different concept to gather the 10 chaotic divine beasts. It was easy to think about, but difficult to do. It was almost impossible. Was it possible to gather the 10 chaotic divine beasts? Blackie, I know what you mean. But it's almost impossible to gather the other 6 chaotic divine beasts. Blackie smiled and said, "Boss, before this, do you dare to think that you can subdue Chionyo, Jioing, and Tao Tai?" It was unimaginable. Not to mention subduing the 3 chaotic divine beasts at the same time, even subduing one of them would be a blessing in disguise. Be that as it may. Boss, you won't know if you don't try. You can start with the 9-headed dragon python for the other 6 chaotic divine beasts. It would be a lie to say that he was not tempted. However, the 9-headed dragon python had helped him before. It would be unkind of him to scheme against the 9-headed dragon python now. Blackie seemed to be able to guess what his boss was thinking. He said helplessly, "Boss, strictly speaking, subduing the 9-headed dragon python is not harming him, but helping him. After 10,000 years, you will help him attain Tao. At that time, he will be very grateful to you." This excuse was a little far-fetched. However, Longao also knew that there was no need to make trade-off. Since he had the Chaos Divine Beast diagram and the 4 chaotic divine beasts, he would be letting himself down if he did not work hard. Longao nodded and said, "In that case, I will give it a try. But the first one will not be the 9-headed dragon python. It will be the Judas." Blackie was a little confused and said, "Boss, the Judas has been following Mo Wutian for a long time. Isn't it a little unrealistic for you to subdue the Judas? If he waited 10,000 years and recovered to his peak, he might have a chance. But now it was a little too ridiculous. His boss was thinking too much." Longao smiled and said, "You said a lot just now. How can we know if we don't try? Maybe we can really succeed." Longao told everyone his idea. The heavenly demonic flame and the others were completely stunned. It was really crazy. However, unlike Blackie, everyone expressed their support. The more crazy it was, the more they liked it. Especially since they had already chosen to submit to Longao. Of course, they hoped that Longao would be able to gather the 10 chaotic divine beasts. Such a grand feat had never been done before. "Longao, after you leave the heavenly demonic abyss, I will take you to a few places. I have subdued a few mystical flames, I will give them to you." "Thank you." Longao was pleasantly surprised. Of course, Longao knew what the heavenly demonic flame mentioned meant. There were a total of 23 kinds of heavenly fire in the chaotic world, and each kind of heavenly fire was incomparably heaven-defying. Not to mention waiting for the seed of the heavenly fire, even if he could only casually obtain one of the heavenly fire, it would be a blessing in disguise. Longao also did not expect that the heavenly demonic flame would give him a few mystical flames. It was like a meat pie falling from the sky. How could he not be excited? Chapter 31-41. Mo Wutian seemed ready to linger for a long time. Longao was ready to tame the candle beast. It was a crazy move. No one else would do such a thing. The way Longao saw it, whether or not he could prove his Tao, he had to kill Mo Wutian. There was no doubt about that. Mo Wutian dared to chase after Shuang. If he hadn't arrived in time, Shuang would have been dead. Just thinking about it made him shudder. Because of this, Mo Wutian had to die. However, with the current situation, he was unable to kill Mo Wutian. One day, he would personally bring Mo Wutian's corpse to Shuang. When he thought of Shuang, Longao felt a deep sense of guilt. It was all because of him. Otherwise, Shuang wouldn't have ended up like this. What should he do? It was indeed not an easy task to tame the divine beast Zhu Yin under Mo Wutian's nose. If he made the slightest mistake, he'd go for wool and come home shorn. Tell me, what should I do to tame the Zhu Yin divine beast? Chunyo, Jiaoying, Blackie, and Taotai were all chaos beasts. Like the candle beast, they were the most suitable to ask. How could they not know what their boss meant? Boss, the candle beast is the weakest of the chaos beasts. Longao already knew what Blackie was saying. Among the 10 divine beasts of chaos, the Taotai divine beast should be the strongest, while the candle shadow divine beast should be the weakest. However, the weakest was relative, especially under such circumstances. Longao didn't speak. He just listened. Taotai spoke up. Boss, if you really want to take the risk, there is a way. What way? Longao's heart leapt with joy at Taoyu's words. He couldn't wait to ask. Not to mention Longao, even the others were very curious. What kind of good method did the Taotai divine beast have to subdue the Zhuyin divine beast? After all, in this situation, it had to be done in secret. Jiaoying, if I'm not mistaken, you and the candle beast are close. If that's the case, use your spiritual sense to lure Zhuyin away. If persuasion works, that's the best outcome. If it doesn't work, then use your fists to beat him into submission. Jiaoying smiled. Qianyo also smiled. Little He and Longao also smiled. If Judas had been at his peak, this would have been troublesome. But now, his situation was similar to Jiaoying's. 1 against 4, plus himself. Would the Zhuyin divine beast be able to withstand it? There was no doubt about it. Jiaoying concealed all of his aura and left his chaotic dantian. At this point, Mo Wutian had already let down his guard. In his opinion, the other party must have already left the heavenly devil abyss, and there was no point in continuing to activate the formation. Carelessness killed people. Judas, who had been cultivating beside Wutian, was shocked to hear someone speak to him through telepathy. Jiaoying? His relationship with Jiaoying was indeed not bad. Looking at Mo Wutian beside him, he said, Boss, I have some matters to attend to. I'll be back later. Yes. Even if you beat Wutian to death, he would never have guessed that someone would dare to target Judas, especially in Celestial Devil's Abyss. Far, far away. Jiaoying, how did you get into Celestial Devil's Abyss? Do you have something to do with Taotai and the Caspian demonic flame? Judas was no fool, and he immediately guessed what was going on. However, he didn't know that Jiaoying had been subdued by Longao. Jiaoying smiled. Let me introduce you. This is my boss, Longao. Longao, Taotai, and the others appeared behind him. How could Judas not recognize Longao? He was shocked and surprised. He never would have guessed that Jiaoying would choose to serve Longao. It wasn't just Jiaoying either. Taotai and Qianyo had chosen to serve Longao as well. What was going on? Absolute shock. Jiaoying, what is the meaning of this? A bad feeling crept into his heart. If he'd known this would happen, he wouldn't have left his boss. With the protection of the Matrix, Even Longao wouldn't dare act rashly. What Judas couldn't figure out was how Longao had done it. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he wouldn't have believed it was real. Judas, a fine bird chooses a tree to nest in. Wutian demon is not your home. I advise you to submit to my boss. 10,000 years from now we will prove our path together. What do you say? Although he'd guessed as much, Judas was still furious. Jiaoying, you and I used to be friends. I never thought you would be such a shameless bastard. You want me to betray my boss and join you? Before Judas could finish, Taotai waved his hand impatiently. If you don't want to, that's your business. As long as we continue, that's our business. If you don't want to, then don't blame us for being rude. Fists speak louder than words. Longao and the others had already guessed that Judas wasn't going to be easy to deal with. Things had already come to this point, so they had to subdue him. And the best way to do that was to beat him into submission. Ha 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 ha. Following his laughter, the space around them began to distort, and tornadoes began to swirl around them. The array was activated once more. Longao and the others' faces changed. They couldn't figure out how Mo Wutian had found out. But since things had already gotten to this point, they couldn't continue. Otherwise, the losses would outweigh the gains. Longao and the others disappeared without a trace. A second later, Wutian Mo appeared. He seemed to have guessed something, and his voice was cold as he asked, Zhu Yin, what happened? Judas didn't try to hide anything. He recounted everything that had transpired. The more he listened, the darker his face became. Even if Wutian was beaten to death, he would never have guessed that Dragon Ao was behind all of this. Previously, he and Longao had already made an agreement that the two of them would not interfere with each other. But now, Longao had violated the agreement and forcefully destroyed his good deed. He was simply courting death. Longao, I know you're here. Since you're here, show yourself. Wutian Mo had barely finished speaking when Longao's figure appeared. He looked at Wutian Mo with a smile. Wutian Mo, long time no see. I hope you've been well. Longao, you broke our agreement and ruined my plans. How should we deal with this? Wutian Mo suppressed the anger in his heart. He didn't have the slightest confidence that he'd be able to keep Judas here. After all, everyone knew he had a chaotic Dantian. First, he'd deal with him later. Chapter 31-42. I don't know. He pushed the blame away. Longao really didn't know. If not for Wutian Mo's sudden arrival, he would never have guessed the man was responsible for the destruction of the celestial demon pool. Hand over the Taotai and the Caspian demonic flame, and we'll call it quits. What do you say? Wutian Mo didn't want to break all pretense of cordiality with Longao unless absolutely necessary. Longao knew exactly what Wutian Mo meant. He smiled. Wutian Mo, I'm sorry, but the Caspian demonic flame and the Taotai are now my brothers. Do you really think I'd hand them over to you? Endless rage. Wutian Mo fought back his rage. Longao, are you playing with fire? Is that so? You have to remember your family. He waved a hand. Without waiting for Mo Wutian to finish speaking, Longao said impatiently, Enough, Mo Wutian. There's no need to hide what you and I are thinking. If this were before, Longao might have been wary. But now, things were different. Soaring Dragon's galaxy had 9 chaos tunnels. He'd already destroyed 8, and the last one was well hidden. He didn't believe Wutian Mo would be able to find it. Longao, are you determined to make me your enemy? Farewell. Longao's figure vanished, but he didn't leave. Instead, he entered his chaotic Dantian. Boss, are we just going to let it go? Let it go? Even if I don't reach the Tao, I'll kill this shameless bastard. Wutian Mo was furious. He activated the array. But now Mo Wutian's expression changed as he shouted in terror, Zhu Yin, quickly protect me? Boss, what's wrong? Judas jumped in fright. He didn't know what was wrong with his boss, but he could sense that his boss was in a terrible state. The demonic energy inside him was in chaos. I've been attacked by the demonic energy of the celestial demon pool. The backlash of demonic chi was no small matter. Even Mo Wutian could not ignore it. If he was not careful, he would be completely corroded by the demonic chi. At that time, there would only be two outcomes. One was to enter the reincarnation cycle, and the other was to die. When Judas heard the words demonic backlash, he froze. He knew what that meant and immediately went to stand guard. Inside his chaotic dantian, Wutian Mo. Boss, why don't you just kill Mo Wutian? Blackie and the rest were very curious. Now that Mo Wutian was being devoured by the demonic chi, it was the best time to kill him. But what was the result? Boss didn't do that at all and chose to leave instead. He couldn't figure it out. He really couldn't figure it out. Blackie, I know what you're thinking. Strictly speaking, Wutian Mo's demonic energy backlash is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. If this were any other place, I wouldn't have let it go so easily. Blackie and the others listened quietly. Their curiosity was piqued. Based on the grudge between their boss and Wutian Mo, their boss would most likely want to see him fall. Something fishy was going on here. The celestial demon pool is one of the forbidden zones of chaos. Wutian Mo used its demonic energy to set up the array. He used it against the Skylight Demon and the Taotai. Now he's being attacked. If we try to force our way in, the demonic energy will eat away at us. Longao could clearly sense how terrifying the demonic aura in the heavenly devil abyss was. Once it was forcibly eroded, one could imagine what the result would be. Boss, what should we do now? Dragonkind. Since they'd decided to gather the 10 chaos beasts, Longao didn't hesitate. Since he didn't succeed in subduing the Judas, his next target was the 9-headed dragon python. Blackie and the others had already guessed it, but they didn't think too much about it. After all, they hoped that their boss could subdue the other chaos beasts. That would be a good thing for them. 3 months later. Second Sky, Demon Palace. Looking at the sudden appearance of the old master, Mo Wufeng was shocked. However, he quickly bowed respectfully. Old master, why have you returned? Mo Wutian's face was extremely gloomy. It was as ugly as it could get. He had spent countless years to arrange everything, but it had been ruined by Longao. It would be a lie to say that he wasn't angry. Whether it was the heavenly devil flame or the divine beast Taotai, they were all high and mighty existences in the chaos world. If he could subdue them, he'd be invincible even if he couldn't prove his Tao in the future. But now that was impossible. Everything was ruined by Longao. Suppressing the anger in his heart, Wutian Mo said coldly, "From now on, lock on to Longao's location. If he's alive, I want to see him. If he's dead, I want to see his corpse. Remember, mobilize the entire demon palace." What was going on? Why did the old ancestor suddenly want to deal with Longao? Previously, the old ancestor didn't want him to deal with Longao. This was the reason why Longao was confused. He didn't know what was going on, but he didn't dare to ask. After all, the old ancestor's face was very dark. Who knew if he'd be implicated? But this time, before Mo Wufeng could ask, Wutian Mo said, "Longao has ruined my plans." From this simple sentence, Mo Wufeng already knew that something must have happened between the old ancestor and Longao. He didn't dare to hesitate and said, "Old ancestor, I'll do it now. Go." The demon palace suddenly released a shocking news, and that was the order to kill. The entire demon palace's power was unimaginable. This time, the demon palace had completely exploded. As for the reason, no one knew. Could it be because of the previous incident? Didn't the demon palace choose to give up? However, countless people believed that the devil palace had locked onto Longao's position in such a frenzied manner. It was almost impossible for Longao to fight against the entire devil palace with his own strength. Strictly speaking, the Demon Palace's strength was inferior to the Pill Hall and the Domain Lord's alliance. After all, no matter if it was the Pill Hall or the Domain Lord's alliance, their forces were spread across the entire Chaos world. However, the Demon Palace couldn't do so. After all, the Chaos world still had some conflicts with the Demon Palace. Because of this, it was not easy for the Devil Palace to lock onto the position of a person in the 99 heavens domains of the Chaos realm. Even if it was the Devil Palace, if Longao really hid, then it would be more and more difficult to lock onto him. Chapter 31-43. The Demon Palace's madness shook the entire Chaos realm. On the other hand, Longao ignored the Demon Palace. Longao had already guessed that after the incident in the Heavenly Devil Abyss, if nothing unexpected happened, Mo Wuqian would definitely not let the matter rest. The Dragon Clan was one of the most powerful clans in the Chaos realm. Everyone knew. The ancestor of the Dragon Clan, the nine-headed dragon Python, was one of the 10 Chaos Divine Beasts. However, many years ago, no one knew what had happened, but the nine-headed dragon Python had suddenly disappeared, and the Dragon Clan had also disappeared. This was a secret of the Chaos realm. However, Longao knew that the nine-headed dragon Python and the Dragon Clan disappeared because the nine-headed dragon Python wanted to prove his Tao. The failure of proving his Tao destroyed the entire Dragon Clan. Longao, what's the matter? As soon as Longao arrived at the Dragon Clan, he was enveloped by dragon blood and instantly appeared in a huge space. There was a nine-headed dragon in front of him. It was the ancestor of the Dragon Clan, one of the 10 Chaos Divine Beasts, the nine-headed dragon Python. Dragon Python, I came here this time mainly to discuss something with you. Tell me about it. Ever since the nine-headed dragon Python failed to prove his Tao, his vitality had been greatly damaged. It was almost the same as the Heavenly Devil Flame. Otherwise, the nine-headed dragon Python would not have to hide here. I want you to follow me in the future. 10,000 years later, we will prove our Tao together. Before the nine-headed dragon Python could speak, 4 figures appeared beside Longao. They were the Divine Beast Taotai, Blackie, Jiuying, and Divine Beast Chunyo. Of course, the nine-headed dragon Python knew that Xiaohe and Longao were together. However, when he saw the other 3 Chaos Divine Beasts beside Longao, his expression changed. He could not figure out why Chunyo, Taotai, and Jiuying would choose to follow Longao. Even if Longao was talented and created the 9 Revolution Chaos technique, it did not seem to be necessary for 3 Chaos Divine Beasts to follow him. Including the sky-swallowing Divine Beast, it would be 4 Chaos Divine Beasts. What did that mean? Longao, even if they follow you, do you think I will be the same as them? It was a disgrace for the ancestor of the Dragon Clan to choose to submit to a human martial artist. How could he agree to something like that? Nonsense. Longao smiled and took out all 4 heavenly flames. This was Longao's trump card. 4 chaotic divine beasts and 4 heavenly flames were enough to intimidate the 9-headed dragon Python. As expected, when the 9-headed dragon Python saw the 4 types of alien flames and 4 types of chaos divine beasts, he was thoroughly shocked. Even so, he still couldn't figure out why Longao wanted him to follow him. Dragon Python, to be honest, 10,000 years later is the key to the transformation of the great Tao of chaos. If we are unable to prove our Tao, then we will either be reincarnated or die. I believe you have sensed it. He didn't say anything. How could the 9-headed dragon Python not understand what Longao meant? If one failed to corroborate one's Tao, one could almost predict the result 10,000 years later. It was either reincarnation or death. Most likely, the chances of them dying were higher. No one was willing to die, including the 9-headed dragon Python. Thinking of this, can you really help me corroborate my Tao? He was elated. Longao smiled and said, Dragon Python, You have failed to corroborate your Tao and your injuries are so serious. There is almost no hope for you to recover 10,000 years later. However, I have already obtained the number 1 sacred item in the Chaos Realm, the Chaos Tree. You can cultivate beside the Chaos Tree. I believe your injuries will recover quickly. When the time comes, Longao didn't continue. However, the meaning in his words was clear. He was completely stunned. He knew better than anyone what the Chaos Tree meant. As the number 1 divine item in the Chaos Realm, the Chaos Tree had been sought after by countless people over the years, but no one had been able to obtain it. At this moment, the 9-headed dragon python finally knew why the 4 chaotic divine beasts and the 4 types of heavenly flames wanted to follow Longao. Sure. Longao also didn't react. He didn't expect the 9-headed dragon python to be so straightforward. It seems like his luck was really good. However, Longao was even more clear in his heart that since he obtained the primal Chaos Tree, everything seemed to have changed. Could it be the Chaos Tree? He seemed to have thought of something, but Longao wasn't sure. Little Hay and the others also didn't expect things to be so simple, but the 9-headed dragon python didn't say anything. The 9-headed dragon python's meaning was obvious. According to his current injuries, there was almost no hope for him to recover 10,000 years later. He didn't want to see either reincarnation or death. He might as well choose to follow Longao. A person who could obtain the Chaos Tree and had 4 chaotic divine beasts and 4 types of heavenly flames following him. He knew what it meant. Maybe he really had a chance to corroborate his Tao. After dealing with the 9-headed dragon python, the heavenly devil flame said with a smile, Longao, I am more and more confident that you will be able to corroborate your Tao after 10,000 years. Many years ago I subdued 9 types of heavenly flames just in case. Completely shocked, Longao knew very well what 9 types of heavenly flames meant. In the entire chaotic realm, there were only 23 types of heavenly flames. He had already obtained 4 of them, and the first was the primal chaos flame, the second was the heavenly devil flame, and the third was the hell flame. The heavenly devil flame had already obtained 9 types of heavenly flames. If he could obtain 9 types of heavenly flames, wouldn't it mean that he would have 13 types of heavenly flames? What kind of concept was that? It would be a lie to say that he wasn't excited. Where is it? Heavenly Flame Region. Heavenly Flame Region? Of course, Longao didn't know where the Heavenly Flame Region was. No matter where it was, even if he had to climb a mountain of blades or dive into a sea of flames, he had to go. If he could obtain 9 types of heavenly flames, his chances of corroborating his Tao would be much higher. 23 types of exotic flames. Every single exotic flame was an incomparably heaven-defying existence. Under normal circumstances, if someone was able to obtain one of these exotic flames, it would already be a great opportunity. No one had ever been able to obtain more than 2 types of exotic flames, let alone 13. After leaving the Dragon Clan, the Heavenly Devil Flame and Longao didn't hesitate. They immediately headed towards the so-called Heavenly Flame region. The Devil Palace's forces spread out as much as possible. However, how could the Pill Hall and the Domain Lords Alliance agree to it? They began to intercept the Devil Palace. Everyone was clear that if they didn't intercept them in time, once the Devil Palace spread out their forces, it would be too late for the Pill Hall and the Domain Lords Alliance to take action after killing Longao. If it was before, the Devil Palace would definitely choose other methods if they were intercepted by the 2 super forces. However, with the old ancestor personally overseeing the situation, Mo Wufeng didn't dare to be careless. This time, the Devil Palace's attitude was very firm and unyielding. Even if the other party was the Pill Hall and the Domain Lords Alliance, they would still forcefully expand. This had thoroughly shaken the entire chaotic realm. Chapter 3144. The Devil Palace was furious. The Pill Hall and the Domain Lord Alliance's joint attack was troublesome even for the Devil Palace. Devil Palace, in the main hall. Mo Wufeng said helplessly, "Old Ancestor, the Pill Hall and the Domain Lord Alliance have joined hands to stop us, making it impossible for our forces to spread out." Mo Wufeng's meaning was simple. Other than the second heavenly region, the other heavens couldn't interfere. In that case, it would be extremely difficult to lock onto Longao's location. Mo Wuqian had already guessed this result. The Devil Palace was the common enemy of the entire Chaos world. If it wasn't for the Devil Palace's strength, the Pill Hall and the Domain Lord Alliance would have joined hands with other forces to destroy the Devil Palace. Old Ancestor, what should we do now? Whether it was the Pill Hall or the Domain Lord Alliance, their strength was obvious. It was impossible for the Devil Palace to fight against them alone. 99 heavens, 95% of the Domain Lords came from the Domain Lord Alliance. Not to mention the Pill Hall's strength. Once the pill was out, who could compete against them? I will naturally deal with the Pill Hall and the Domain Lord Alliance's matter. Mo Wuqian didn't hesitate and immediately left. This time, Mo Wuqian was truly furious. He had prepared for countless years, but Longao ruined his plans. How could he not be furious? Mo Wufeng was shocked. Because for so many years, the old ancestor had never interfered with the Devil Palace's matters, let alone finding the Pill Hall and the Domain Lord Alliance. It was almost impossible before. But now? Mo Wufeng didn't know what happened between the old ancestor and Longao to make the old ancestor so angry. The old ancestor's anger was no small matter. The Devil Palace, the Domain Lord Alliance and the Pill Hall were the three superpowers of the Chaos world. Once a war broke out, it was obvious what the result would be. Just when everyone thought that the three super forces were going to start a fight, a huge commotion broke out. The situation suddenly changed. The Pill Hall and the Domain Lord Alliance were prepared to stop the Devil Palace, but they didn't expect that for some reason, the two superpowers suddenly stopped. Were they going to let the Devil Palace develop? Everyone knew that. Once the Devil Palace developed, it wouldn't be easy to continue suppressing the Devil Palace in the future. What was the reason? He could not figure it out. The forces of the Devil Palace began to develop crazily. At first, it was only in the second heavens, but in just a few days, it had developed to the 99th heavens and even the first heavens. The Devil Palace was already at their doorstep, but the Pill Hall and the Domain Lords Alliance were still indifferent. Something was wrong. It would be unrealistic to say that there was nothing fishy going on. But what was the result? From the beginning to the end, the Pill Hall and the Domain Lords Alliance didn't express anything. They were so unyielding in the beginning, but now they didn't make any moves. This caused the entire primal chaos realm to tremble. In the following period of time, the Demon Palace began to frantically lock onto Longao's location. They also announced to the world that anyone who dared to hide Longao would be an enemy of the Demon Palace and would be mercilessly killed by the Demon Palace. It seemed that Longao had truly angered the Devil Palace this time. Song Lin was still in seclusion, so she was completely unaware of what was happening outside. No matter what, she had already obtained the Primal Chaos Seed. Even if she couldn't prove her Tao in the future, she could at least reach the Primal Chaos Reincarnation realm. Therefore, she had to cultivate in seclusion to increase her strength as soon as possible. If Song Lin were to find out, it was easy to imagine what would happen. Pill Hall. Han Yin and Han Feng had already received the news. Both of them were extremely worried about Longao's safety. After all, both of them knew very well what the Demon Palace meant. The two of them didn't hesitate at all. They immediately found their father and said straightforwardly, "Father, the Demon Palace is chasing after Longao everywhere. Should we help him?" If it was the Domain Lords Alliance, it would be fine. After all, the Pill Hall wouldn't go against the Domain Lords Alliance for the sake of the Dragon Emperor. It was almost unrealistic. However, The current situation didn't make sense at all. The Demon Palace was the one who took action. Moreover, the Demon Palace was expanding their forces everywhere, especially in the first heavenly region. The Demon Palace actually dared to extend their hand. They were completely provoking the Pill Hall and the Domain Lords Alliance. Under normal circumstances, the two super forces would definitely go against the Demon Palace. But what was the result? No matter if it was the Pill Hall or the Domain Lords Alliance, they didn't act rashly. This was also something that Han Een and Han Feng couldn't understand. Little Een, don't interfere in the matter between Longao and the Demon Palace. The Pill Hall won't interfere. I believe the Domain Lords Alliance won't interfere too. Father, why is this happening? Han Feng wasn't as reckless as Han Een. He seemed to have guessed something and asked, Father, is there any change in the Demon Palace? Nodding, Han Yun said helplessly, this is something decided by the higher-up. Even I don't have the right to ask. The higher-ups? Of course, Han Een and Han Feng knew what their father meant. In the Pill Hall, although their father was the Pill Hall's hallmaster, there were still people with higher positions. These people were the true decisive figures of the Pill Hall. The two of them were shocked. They didn't know why the higher-ups of the Pill Hall would interfere in this matter. It was really unimaginable. Father, what's the reason? Mo Wutian. Those three simple words had already explained everything. Mo Wutian was a legendary figure. He was a legend who created the Demon Palace single-handedly. However, Mo Wutian hadn't appeared for many years. The two of them couldn't understand why Mo Wutian would suddenly interfere in this matter. No wonder the Pill Hall and the Domain Lords Alliance didn't interfere in this matter. Father, is there no chance at all? Han Yun shook his head. How could he not understand his daughter's intentions? He sighed deeply in his heart and said helplessly, Mo Wutian has interfered in this matter. You guys better not meddle in it. Otherwise, if you provoke that lunatic Mo Wutian, even our Pill Hall will be in great trouble. Before Han Een could say anything, Han Yun continued, this matter ends here. From now on, the two of you are not allowed to leave the Pill Hall. Father. Get out? Han Een knew her father's temper very well. She especially knew about Mo Wutian's deterrence. Otherwise, the two superpowers wouldn't dare to interfere in this matter. No matter what, the Demon Palace could use this opportunity to expand their strength. At that time, the two superpowers wouldn't be able to suppress the Demon Palace. The Demon Palace went completely crazy. They didn't let go of any opportunity and searched every inch of the place. However, Longao seemed to have disappeared from the world. No matter how much effort the Demon Palace put into the search, they couldn't locate Longao. This made everyone sigh. Since the establishment of the Demon Palace, they had never encountered such a situation. Longao could be said to be the first person to do so. Chapter 3145. Strange Fire Domain. Without the heavenly demonic flame leading the way, Longao wouldn't be able to find such a hidden place. Not only that, the entire strange fire domain was emitting the aura of strange fire. If someone dared to casually step in, they wouldn't even know how they died. The aura of strange fire was needless to say. The Chaos Realm had a total of 23 types of strange fire. Each of them was extremely powerful. But what was the result? Heavenly demonic flame, what's wrong? Longao seemed to have guessed something. He had a bad feeling in his heart because there didn't seem to be any strange fire here. Could it be that something happened? As expected, the heavenly demonic flame's face was very gloomy. He said solemnly, I don't know what happened. The 9 strange fires I obtained have all disappeared. Even the heavenly demonic flame didn't know what happened. This was a big problem. Maybe the 9 strange fires ran away. He shook his head. The heavenly demonic flame said with certainty, impossible. Someone must have found this place. Who was it? Longao's face was a bit ugly. It wasn't that he didn't get the 9 strange fires, but this matter was too strange. Longao, you have to figure this out as soon as possible. Otherwise, I'm afraid that something else will happen in the Tao validation 10,000 years later. Longao nodded. How could he not know what the heavenly demonic flame meant? Longao heard all kinds of legends about himself when he just left the strange fire domain. He wasn't surprised that the Demon Palace wanted to deal with him. However, Longao didn't expect that the Domain Lord Alliance and the Pill Hall wouldn't stop the Demon Palace from developing. He believed that the two forces knew what the Demon Palace's actions meant. Even if the Demon Palace wanted to deal with him, it was impossible for the Demon Palace to return to the second sky after this matter. It was almost nonsense. There were 3 super forces in the Chaos Realm: the Domain Lord Alliance, the Demon Palace, and the Pill Hall. The Domain Lord Alliance controlled almost all the Domain Lords of the 99 Heavens domains and many martial artists. The Pill Hall controlled a huge amount of alchemist resources. Needless to say, no one could resist the temptation of pills. Only the Demon Palace. Among the 3 super forces, the Demon Palace was in an awkward position. They could only hole up in the second sky region. This was the bottom line of the Domain Lords Alliance and the Pill Hall. For so many years, the Devil Palace had never dared to cross the line. Once he took a step forward, the 2 superpowers would definitely join forces to stop him. However, the situation this time was a little special. Boss, it seems like Mo Wu Tian is behind this. Yes. Longao smiled and said, Han Wu and Sangya are really patient to actually agree to Mo Wu Tian's request. If I'm not mistaken, Mo Wu Tian must have brought out an absolute condition. Otherwise, the 2 of them wouldn't have agreed. Han Wu, the primal chaos reincarnation expert who created the Pill Hall. Sangya, the primal chaos reincarnation warrior who founded the Domain Masters Alliance. Back then, among all the primal chaos reincarnation experts, only 3 people had established their own forces. They were Han Wu, Sangya, and Mo Wu Tian. Other than that, Nangong Yin, Master God Diviner, and the others, including Longao, didn't establish their own organizations. Instead, they focused on proving their Tao. Boss, Han Wu and Sangya clearly knew your identity, yet they still helped Mo Wu Tian. We will definitely take revenge in the future. Sooner or later, you'll have to pay for what you did. Longao didn't care about Han Wu and Sangya's actions at all. In this world, there were no eternal friends or enemies, only eternal benefit. Mo Wu Tian's offer was tempting enough, so the 2 of them helped Mo Wu Tian to deal with him. There was no doubt about it. The fact that the Pill Hall and the Domain Lords Alliance didn't interfere already surprised Longao. Boss, what should we do now? Let's break through to the God Ancestor realm first. Now that he had completely fallen out with Mo Wu Tian, his current strength wasn't enough to fight against the Devil Palace. Hence, the most important thing now was to think of a way to raise his cultivation base to the God Ancestor realm. Only then could he comprehend the Tao and cultivate towards the primal chaos realm. It was easy to think about, but difficult to do. The primal chaos sacred body didn't have any bottleneck. As long as he could devour enough energy, he could smoothly break through to a higher realm. For example, now that Longao's cultivation base had broken through to the peak God Emperor realm, as long as he could devour enough energy, he could easily break through to the God Ancestor realm. However, where could he find such energy? That was the key. Devil Palace. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. If it was someone else, the Devil Palace would have already issued the order to hunt them down and started to lock them down frantically. Longao was the only exception. Not only did he not hide, he even headed towards the Devil Palace. Such a crazy move was really incomprehensible. Even Xiao He and the others were a little shocked. They didn't know what their boss meant. However, no matter what their boss did, Xiao He and the others would support him unconditionally. Strictly speaking, Xiao He and the others admired their boss. Only such a person was worth following. In the second sky, even if the Devil Palace and Mo Wu Tian were beaten to death, they would never have thought that Longao would be so bold as to come to the second sky. Because of that, the Devil Palace didn't seal off the second sky. Instead, they sent 99% of their forces to other heavens. In Mo Wu Tian and Mo Wu Feng's opinion, Longao definitely wouldn't dare to step into the Devil Palace's territory and would hide in other heavens. In the eyes of the Devil Palace and everyone else, it was impossible. However, Longao didn't take it seriously at all. Not only did he come to the second sky, but he also directly entered the Devil Palace, which was the headquarters of the Devil Palace. The most dangerous place was also the safest place. Boss, with our current strength, it's somewhat unrealistic for us to want to destroy the Devil Palace. Even though the Devil Palace has sent out 99% of their forces, the only people left behind are some of the stronger ones. At this point, Xiao He didn't continue. However, the meaning in his words was clear. How could Longao not know what Xiao He meant? I know what you mean. This time, I'm here mainly to break through to the God Ancestor realm. Hearing his boss's words, Xiao He was even more curious. Could one break through to the God Ancestor realm by entering the Devil Palace? When Mo Wu Tian built the Devil Palace, he gathered a lot of devil qi with the help of the formation. I'm going to devour it. It was too difficult to break through normally. As a last resort, Longao could only think of this method. Boss, you should know what it means to forcibly devour a large amount of devil qi. When the time comes, don't talk about using the devil qi to break through to the God Ancestor realm. If the devil qi backfires on you, the consequences will be unimaginable. Why do you have to do this? It's really not worth it. Chapter 3146. With the help of the heavenly demonic flame, the demonic qi is nothing to worry about. Before this, Longao would not have dared to casually devour such a huge amount of demonic qi. But now, the situation was different. The heavenly demonic flame smiled and said, "Don't worry, no matter how much demonic qi boss devours, I can refine it without any problems." So that was it. The heavenly demonic flame's power was needless to say. As the second most powerful heavenly flame, it was obvious what it meant. Demon Palace. Mo Wutian did not stay in the Demon Palace. Since Longao would not come, there was not much use for him to stay. Only Mo Wufeng was guarding the Demon Palace now. Mo Wufeng sighed deeply. Breaking through the chaotic realm, it was as difficult as ascending the heavens to take another step forward. Recalling what the old ancestor had told him, Mo Wufeng felt that he still had a long way to go. In the chaotic realm, the chaotic warriors were the true pinnacle. As for the chaotic warriors, he was just a beginner. According to the old ancestor, there were 6 realms in the chaotic realm. From lowest to highest, they were chaotic enlightenment, chaotic convergence, chaotic laws, chaotic realm, chaotic life and death, and chaotic reincarnation. As for chaotic reincarnation, it was the legendary Tao confirmation. Thinking that he was only in chaotic enlightenment, Mo Wufeng felt helpless. On the other hand, Longao. He had secretly taken control of a demon Tao warrior in the Demon Palace and entered the Demon Palace without anyone noticing. As for what happened next, it all depended on luck. Boss, it seems that there are many chaotic warriors in the Demon Palace. There are even chaotic life and death warriors. He nodded. Although his cultivation had not recovered to its peak, Blackie could sense that there were many powerful auras in the Demon Palace. There were even chaotic life and death warriors guarding it. The 6 realms of chaotic enlightenment, chaotic convergence, chaotic laws, chaotic realm, chaotic life and death, and chaotic reincarnation. Back then, Longao and Blackie, including Mo Wutian and the rest, were all chaotic reincarnation warriors. They all stood at the peak of the chaotic realm, and were only one step away from Tao confirmation. Be careful. Chaotic warriors were the foundation of the demon palace. This was especially true for chaos warriors who were above the level of chaos convergence. They were the foundation of the foundation. Even to deal with him, the demon palace was unwilling to use them. Actually, once one's cultivation broke through the chaos convergence peak, they would generally not interfere with the affairs of the mortal world. Instead, they would truly cultivate, hoping to reach a higher realm. Longao stepping foot into the Devil Palace this time could be said to be fraught with dangers. Once he was targeted by a chaos warrior, it was obvious what it meant. It was still the same sentence. Without danger, there would be no opportunity. Xiaohei, can you lock onto it? The Devil Palace was very big. Wanting to lock onto the gathering place of the Devil Chi was also not an easy matter. Boss, I've locked onto him. Hearing Xiaohei's words, Longao was overjoyed. Without any hesitation, he immediately rushed in the direction Xiaohei had locked onto. The location that Blackie had locked onto was a forbidden area of the demonic palace. Boss, be careful of the primal chaos warriors. Longao smiled and said, all the chaotic martial artists in the demon palace are in seclusion. Once they break through the chaotic realm, they will want to prove their Tao. So, no one will be able to discover us. Regarding this point, Longao was almost certain. As soon as he stepped in the huge space there were tornadoes everywhere. The Devil Chi filled the entire space, making one's scalp tingle. Boss, are you really going to devour it? Heavenly demonic flame, can you really help Boss refine such a huge amount of Devil Chi? Xiaohei was still very worried. After all, the Devil Chi in the space was too huge. Even with the help of heavenly demonic flame, who knew what would happen? If there was an accident, he would not even have the chance to regret it. Heavenly demonic flame was very clear about what Xiaohei meant. Feeling the huge amount of Devil Chi around the space, his expression was extremely solemn. If he was at his peak, of course, he would not have the slightest worry. But now, he had not recovered from his injuries. It was really uncertain if he could really do it. Boss, when you devour later, don't go too far. As soon as he heard Heavenly Demonic Flame's words, Longao already knew that even Heavenly Demonic Flame was not completely confident. But since things had already come to this, it was impossible for him to choose to give up. Since he was already here, he might as well take things as they came. Longao did not hesitate and immediately entered the huge tornadoes, madly devouring the Devil Chi around him. Terrifying Devil Chi began to madly rush into Longao's body from all directions. Tornadoes madly swept around. This space was the foundation of the entire Devil Palace. The reason why Mo Wutian built the Devil Palace here was because this space could gather Devil Chi. For Devil Dao martial artists, the Devil Palace was a cultivation holy land. This was also why the Devil Palace could gather so many Chaos Devil Dao martial artists. As for the Pill Hall and Domain Lords Alliance, the number of Chaos Devil Dao martial artists they had was definitely not less than the Devil Palace. However, the number of Chaos Devil Dao martial artists cultivating in the Domain Lords Alliance and Pill Hall was definitely not as many as the Devil Palace. Madly devouring. In Longao's body, not only Heavenly Demonic Flame, even Xiaohuo was helping Longao to refine the Devil Chi. Although the Devil Chi could help Longao to break through, the backlash from the Devil Chi was not small. Longao's chaotic sacred body required too much energy. Even if he devoured like this, he still could not keep up with the devouring of the chaotic sacred body. In this way, Longao was extremely shocked. Because according to his calculation, with his current situation, he could smoothly break through from the Peak God Emperor realm to the God Ancestor realm, from the Peak God Emperor realm at most 10 minutes. But the result? After devouring the Devil Chi for half an hour, his cultivation was still unable to break through to the God Ancestor realm. What was the reason? After thinking for a while, Longao finally found the problem. If he was not mistaken, the devil chi he devoured could not be absorbed directly. He had to use two mystical flames to refine the devil chi. In this case, the power refined by the two mystical flames would not even reach 1/10 of the original devil chi. In this case, it was really unknown how much devil chi he had to devour to break through to the God Ancestor realm from the peak God Emperor realm. It was very helpless. Fortunately, the devil chi here was enough for him to devour continuously. In this way, Longao continued to devour devil chi crazily. No one in the Devil Palace noticed. From the beginning to the end, no one thought that someone would sneak into the Devil Palace and devour the devil chi crazily. Chapter 3147. 10 days later. Longao swallowed for 10 days and 10 nights. Cracking sounds came from his body. His cultivation finally broke through from the peak Emperor God to the primary God Ancestor. He was pleasantly surprised. From now on, he could start comprehending the Tao. He continued to swallow. He was just breaking through to the primary God Ancestor. He had to break through to the peak God Ancestor in one go. You've gone too far. You've been swallowing for 10 days. Why do you want to continue? Longao was not surprised at the sudden appearance of the old man. Chaotic Sixth Realm. The old man was an expert who comprehended the Tao of chaos. There were 3 realms in the chaotic Tao, namely Warrior of 1 Tao, Warrior of 2 Tao, and Warrior of 3 Tao. Only by comprehending 3 Taos could one reach the gathering of 3 Tao and break through the chaotic Tao. He should be able to deal with a warrior of 1 Tao. When the old man rushed over earlier, Longao had already discovered traces of the other party. However, he did not leave. The biggest reason was that Longao wanted to see if he could contend against a first Tao martialist with his own strength. What does it have to do with you whether I swallow or not? Even though Yi Fengyun was a warrior of 1 Tao, he could not stand the provocation. Yi Fengyun was furious. However, since the old man could sneak in and provoke him, he had to have something to rely on. He did not dare to act rashly. Who are you? Have you heard of Longao? Longao? Who was Longao? Yi Fengyun had been cultivating in seclusion. Of course, he did not know Longao. He was curious. Was Longao very famous? Looking at the expression on the other party's face, Longao already knew what the other party was thinking. Warriors of this level almost did not care about worldly affairs. They only wanted to prove the chaos great way. However, few people in the chaotic world could do this. The chaos great way was a realm that every chaotic warrior dreamed of reaching. You'd better get out of here. I'll leave after swallowing. Before Yi Fengyun could speak, if you don't leave, we'll fight. Fight? His opponent had just broken through to the primary God Ancestor level. The gap between them was too big. They were not at the same level at all. Once the battle began, the other party would have no chance at all. They wouldn't even be able to block one of his attacks. It was just that Yi Fengyun had been very careful all these years. He deeply understood that there was always someone better than him out there. Since the other party was so fearless, it would be a lie to say that he wasn't afraid. What should he do? Inform the others? Yi Fengyun knew very well that the other chaotic martial artists of the Devil Palace were all in seclusion. Unless there was a matter of life and death, they would not come out of seclusion. There was no doubt about it. Ha 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 ha. All of a sudden, Yi Fengyun suddenly laughed out loud and said with a mocking smile, "So it was just a bluff. I, Yi Fengyun, would like to see if you have the ability to fight with me." Just as Yi Fengyun finished speaking, Longao's figure had already dashed out. Before he arrived, his terrifying fist shadow had already arrived. Longao didn't want to continue talking nonsense. Anyway, he had successfully broken through to the primary God Ancestor level. He wanted to see if he could fight against a first Tao warrior with his current strength. The chaos axe in his hand slashed towards the other party fiercely. As Longao's most powerful chaotic weapon, the chaos axe meant something to him. As the saying went, once an expert struck, one would know whether he was good or not. The other party did have something to rely on. Yi Fengyun didn't dare to be careless. He immediately started to fight back. However, a first Tao warrior was a chaotic martial artist after all. Based on the absolute difference in realm, it wasn't easy for Longao to kill a first Tao warrior. The sixth Chaos Axe, Destruction of Consciousness. After Longao's Chaos Axe slashed out with Destruction of Consciousness, Yi Fengyun's face changed. He could feel how terrifying the power of this axe was. Even he had to use all his strength to block it. In the blink of an eye, the two of them were engaged in a fierce battle. It was still not possible. Longao already knew how big the gap was between his strength and the other party's. If he could break through to the peak of the God Ancestor level, he could kill a first Tao warrior. However, it was a bit difficult for him to do so now. "Boss, let's attack together. We can kill this man." Longao, who had already given up, immediately released the 4 divine beasts of chaos when he heard Black's words. They were Divine Beast Chunyo, Divine Beast Zhuiying, Divine Beast Taotai, and Divine Beast Swallowing Sky. Although the 4 divine beasts of chaos hadn't recovered to the chaotic realm, they were infinitely close to it. It was not impossible for the 4 divine beasts of chaos and Longao to kill a first Tao warrior together. Yi Fengyun, who was full of confidence and thought that the other party was just bluffing, was shocked when he saw the 4 divine beasts of chaos. Yi Fengyun didn't know the divine beasts of chaos, but he was relieved when he sensed that the 4 divine beasts were only God Ancestor level. Yi Fengyun couldn't defend against the 5 of them at all. Even if he was beaten to death, he wouldn't have thought that as a chaos martial artist, even a basic first Tao warrior, he shouldn't be a match for a God Ancestor level martial artist. However, the result was out of his expectations. The 4 divine beasts that the other party had just summoned were stronger than the other. Especially when the 4 divine beasts of chaos worked together. Even he was starting to lose. Boom, boom, boom. In the end, even without Longao's help, the 4 divine beasts of chaos had already killed Yi Fengyun. Until the moment of his death, Yi Fengyun had never thought that he, a warrior of chaos enlightenment, would be besieged and killed by 4 divine beasts of God Ancestor level. If Yi Fengyun knew that the 4 divine beasts that were attacking him weren't ordinary divine beasts, but the legendary chaos divine beasts, what would he think? The 4 of you, devour his power. The primordial spirit of a first Tao warrior was still very strong. The 4 divine beasts of chaos didn't stand on ceremony and started devouring Yi Fengyun's primordial spirit and power. The primordial spirit and power of a first Tao warrior was still very impressive. After thinking for a while, Blackie asked, "Boss, should we stay or leave?" How could Longao not know what Blackie meant? The battle between him and Yi Fengyun would definitely attract countless powerful beings. If there were any chaos martial artists of 2 Tao warrior level or above, how would he deal with them? Furthermore, he was a little unwilling to leave. After all, devouring the demonic chi here would be very beneficial to his cultivation. Should he leave? The most dangerous place was the safest place. At the thought of this, Longao said, "We'll stay." Chapter 3148. It was just as Longao had guessed. Dozens of minutes later, dozens of chaos warriors arrived one after another. Among them, there was even a chaos warrior at the peak. However, Longao was not in the space, but in the chaos dantian. Big Brother 5 elements, there seems to have been a huge battle here, and the demonic chi here has decreased by 1/10. 5 elements old ancestor nodded, his face gloomy. As one of the 3 super forces in the chaos realm, the demon palace's strength was needless to say. Who would dare to provoke the lion and pull out a tooth from the tiger's mouth? He was simply getting impatient. Yi Fengyun. Looking at the corpse on the ground, everyone's face changed. Yi Fengyun was a Dao warrior. To be able to kill Yi Fengyun so quickly, it was obvious that the other party was also a chaos warrior. However, even a chaos warrior would not dare to cause trouble in the demon palace. Who was the other party? Among the dozens of people, 5 Elements' old ancestor was a chaos warrior at the peak. Facing a chaos warrior at the peak, Longao had almost no chance of winning. Since you're here, why not show yourself? 5 Elements' old ancestor knew that the other party deliberately did not destroy Yi Fengyun's corpse. This was a blatant provocation to the demon palace. How could he not be angry? As for whether the other party was still in the space, 5 Elements' old ancestor had no confidence at all. However, he had to try first. No one answered. Big brother 5 Elements, this person seems to have left. What should we do now? Nodding. Although this person has left, he definitely hasn't left the demon palace. Immediately inform the palace master to lock down the entire demon palace. I don't believe that this person can fly out. Yes. Mo Wufeng also knew what had happened. The first person he thought of was Longao. However, he felt that it was not possible. Longao was just a small emperor god warrior. How could he kill Yi Fengyun, who was already a Dao warrior? No matter how he thought about it, he felt that it was not Longao. However, if it was not Longao, who else could it be? After all, no one dared to provoke the demon palace. As one of the 3 super forces in the chaos realm, other than some old monsters, no one dared to casually come here. Everyone knew that there were many chaos warriors at the demon palace. Among them, there were even chaotic life and death realm experts overseeing them. Everyone knew what this entailed. He didn't dare to hesitate at all. Mo Wufeng naturally knew what it meant for something like this to happen in the headquarters. He immediately locked down the entire Devil Palace. No matter what price he had to pay, he had to find this person. Otherwise, how could he, the Palace Lord, answer to the Devil Palace? Not long after. Everyone in the Devil Palace knew about this matter. However, for the sake of his reputation, Mo Wufeng had sealed off the news. Therefore, other than those within the Devil Palace, no one else knew about this. The most dangerous place was also the safest place. Inside the space, no one would have thought that not only did the person who killed Yi Fengyun not leave, he even stayed behind. After everyone left, Longao immediately came out of the chaotic Dantian and began to devour crazily. With the help of the heavenly devil flame and Xiaohua, there was no need to worry about being devoured by the devil qi. If it were anyone else, they definitely wouldn't dare to devour the devil qi so crazily. Even demon Dao warriors would do the same. Once they were devoured by the devil qi, the consequences would be unimaginable. After 3 days and 3 nights, Longao's cultivation finally broke through from beginner god ancestor to advanced god ancestor. When he was ready to continue devouring the devil qi and break through from advanced god ancestor to peak god ancestor, time was running out. Because someone else came in. This time, it was none other than the palace lord of the Devil Palace, Missouri Wufeng. What did Mo Wufeng want? Longao was almost certain that Mo Wufeng didn't know that he was here. Otherwise, Mo Wufeng wouldn't have come alone, but a large group of people. Longao's intuition told him that Mo Wufeng's visit this time was definitely not simple. It would be a lie to say that there was nothing fishy about this. Mo Wufeng entered the space and felt the decreasing devil qi. He was furious. This was the foundation of the Devil Palace, and there was a big secret here. Other than himself and the old ancestor, no one knew about it. Even the chaotic Dao warriors of the Devil Palace didn't know about it. This was the reason why there wasn't a single chaotic Dao warrior guarding this place. Coming to the center of the space, Mo Wufeng took out a token. At this moment, the devil qi in the surroundings started to swirl crazily. Huge tornadoes swept across the entire space. Within the token, a strange power was released, directly connecting with the tornadoes of devil chi in the surroundings. At the same time, a black space stone gate appeared. Mo Wufeng's silhouette disappeared into the space gate instantly. However, he would have never expected that there would be someone waiting for him behind. Just as Mo Wufeng disappeared into the space gate, Longao's silhouette followed closely behind. He wanted to see just what was behind the space gate. With a flash of black light, Mo Wufeng and Longao appeared in a cave. It was just that Longao had entered the cave and entered his dantian immediately. Therefore, Mo Wufeng didn't discover any traces of Longao from the start. He also didn't expect that someone would follow him in. Within the cave, a little golden monkey was sealed on a stone platform. Seeing that nothing had happened to the little golden monkey, Mo Wufeng heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. Smiling, he said, "Back then, the two old masters had devised a plan to seal you. Nothing must happen to you. Jinan, after so many years, are you still not intending to submit to me?" Indeed, the two ancestors Mo Wufeng spoke of were Mo Wutian and Judas. Back then, the two of them had tried to seal Jin Bai. Even after all these years, Jin Bai still refused to submit. But Mo Wutian's intentions were clear. If Mo Wufeng could tame Jin Bai, then it would be his sacred beast. When he thought of taming a chaos sacred beast, Mo Wufeng couldn't help but be pleasantly surprised. Jin Bai was one of the top 10 chaos sacred beasts, just like Blackie and the others. Mo Wufeng, once I leave this place, I will destroy your demon palace. You think you can do that? Mo Wufeng didn't think much of Jin Bai. Jin Bai was heavily injured. Even if he wasn't sealed, he couldn't defeat Mo Wufeng. Jin Bai hadn't even recovered to the chaos realm. Jinan, there is only one path before you. Choose to submit to me and we will reach the Tao together in the future. Otherwise, you will be sealed here forever. Ha 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 ha. Even if Jin and I die, I will not submit to a despicable human like you. Scram. Chapter 3149. Mo Wufeng did not stay any longer. He turned around and left the cave. In his opinion, no one could enter this place, not even the chaotic martial artists of the Demon Palace. Only he and the old ancestor knew this secret. As for Jin and I, not only was Jin and I severely injured, he was also sealed by Mo Wufeng and could not leave this place. Subduing Jin and I was not something that could be done in a day. Which of the 10 divine beasts of chaos was not a high and mighty existence? If it was so easy to subdue, he would not have to wait so many years. Even if Mo Wufeng was beaten to death, he would never have thought that Longao, whom they had painstakingly searched for, was actually right under his nose. If he knew, he wondered if he would go crazy. It was too crazy. Mo Wufeng could not be blamed for not thinking of this. After all, no one would think this way. Even the craziest person would not dare to do this. Except for Longao, a madman who was not afraid of anything. Even in the face of the Demon Palace and countless chaotic martial artists, he still dared to do this. Who are you? Jin and I was very curious to see the human who had suddenly appeared in front of him. He knew very well that this person should be Mo Wufeng's enemy. Otherwise, why would he wait until Mo Wufeng left before appearing? Longao, the golden Ni divine beast, one of the 10 divine beasts of chaos and the one with the strongest defense. Among the 10 divine beasts of chaos, the golden Ni divine beast's defense was definitely the strongest. Not only that, legend had it that the golden Ni divine beast had a third eye that could destroy everything. The third eye of the golden Ni divine beast was also known as the Eye of Destruction. You know me? Seems like you came prepared. Mo Wufeng smiled. You and I have a common enemy. I can help you leave, but you have to promise me that you will follow me for 10,000 years. 10,000 years later, you will regain your freedom. How about that? If it had been in the past, Jean and I would definitely not have agreed. As one of the 10 divine beasts of chaos, Jean and I was arrogant. But now, the situation was different. Jean and I did not even think about it and said, sure. As long as you can help me leave this place, I can promise you that I will follow you for 10,000 years. But you have to promise me one thing. Otherwise, there is nothing to talk about. Longao did not even need to ask. He already knew what Jean and I divine beast meant. He smiled again. No problem. Like I said, we have a common enemy. Mo Wutian and Mo Wufeng must die. As for the Devil Palace, there will be no more of them. Alright. Mo Wufeng would never have guessed that the golden lion they had painstakingly sealed had ended up in Longao's hand. Countless years of hard work had gone to someone else. This was especially true for Mo Wutian, who had paid a heavy price in order to suppress the golden lion. But what was the result? The seal here was nothing to Longao. The moment the golden lion disappeared, Mo Wufeng sensed it. After all, he was the one who set up the seal. How could he not know? Staring at the vanishing Jean too, Mo Wufeng could no longer suppress his killing intent. He finally understood the intentions of the other party. It was to lure the tiger away from the mountain and kill Yi Fengyun in order to divert the attention of the crowd away so that he could rescue Jean Tuesday. Who was it? Just who was it? The most infuriating thing was that he did not know who the other party was. If it was anything else, it would have been fine. But the Golden Lion was one of the 10 great chaos beasts. If he could subdue the Golden Lion, he would be able to prove his Tao and become a reincarnation realm martial artist. A reincarnation realm martial artist was the pinnacle of existence below the Tao-proving realm. They were on the same level as the old master. But all of this was just wishful thinking. Arg! Roaring into the skies, Mo Wufeng could not figure out how the other party had entered this place. Other than him, there were only the old master and old master Zhu Yin. It was impossible for the two of them to have entered this place. If they did not want to give it to him, they could have just taken it back. Since it wasn't the two ancestors, he couldn't figure it out no matter how hard he thought about it. Could it be before? That should not be possible. If the other party was stronger than him, there was no need for them to do this. They could have just killed him and entered this place. Why would they do this? He could not figure it out. He really could not figure it out. Just what was going on? Mo Wufeng was well aware of the seriousness of this matter. He did not dare to be careless and immediately informed the old master. Everything would have to wait until the two old masters returned. The Golden Lion had disappeared for no reason. The other party was obviously here on purpose. It was definitely not that simple. News of the Golden Lion's disappearance did not spread. No matter what, other than Mo Wufeng and Mo Wutian, no one in the Demon Palace knew about the Golden Lion. Not to mention, this matter could be big or small. Once it spread, it would alert the enemy. Mo Wufeng was almost certain that the person who had taken the Golden Lion was still in the Demon Palace. The matter of the Golden Lion was sealed, but Mo Wufeng continued to search. As long as the other party had not left the Demon Palace, there was still hope for the Golden Lion. Once the other party had left, and he did not even know who the other party was, it would be troublesome. Boss, what should we do now? Blackie had never imagined that Longao would be able to subdue the Golden Lion so easily. If he were to join him, then Boss would have a total of 5 Chaos Divine Beasts by his side. What kind of concept was that? For countless years in the Chaos world, no one had ever been able to do this. It was complete nonsense. Not to mention subduing 5 Chaos Divine Beasts at the same time, even subduing 1 Chaos Divine Beast would be a great fortune. Not only Blackie, even the others were more and more convinced that their boss might really be able to attain the Tao after 10,000 years. Once he attained the Tao, not only would he be immortal and indestructible, He could even dominate the entire Chaos world. This was the dream of all Chaos Divine Beasts and Chaos Divine Beasts. However, it was impossible for anyone to achieve it. Only Boss had this opportunity. Even if we want to leave now, the Demon Palace will not agree. Rather than taking the risk to leave, why not stay here? I also want to play a game of cat and mouse with the Demon Palace. Let's see who's the cat and who's the mouse. Blackie and the others did not say anything. No matter what Boss did, they would support him unconditionally, even if it was dangerous. At this moment, suddenly, the Golden Lion said, "Longao, it seems that I didn't follow the wrong person. But shouldn't you do something to help me get rid of some people and get back some capital? Otherwise, I'm not satisfied." Longao nodded. Of course, he knew that the Golden Lion was angry. Chapter 3150. For Longao, this was something he had to do. Anyway, he had already entered the Demon Palace and could not get out for the time being. He might as well collect some interest. With the help of the 5 divine beasts of chaos, Longao was almost invincible under the chaotic realm. No matter who it was, they would definitely die. As for the warrior of Tao, he would also kill them. However, it was a bit troublesome to kill the warrior of Tao. Under such circumstances, it was not suitable to delay time. Once the battle started, the longer it was delayed, the more unfavorable it would be for him. In just 3 days, Longao and the 5 divine beasts of chaos killed dozens of emperor gods and god ancestors, including a warrior of Tao. What did that mean? It was impossible for the Demon Palace to block the news by killing experts without restraint in the base camp of the Demon Palace. Not only the Demon Palace, but the entire chaotic realm had already known that a mysterious expert, who was likely to be a chaotic warrior, had secretly sneaked into the Demon Palace and started to kill the people of the Demon Palace. Who was it? It was too crazy. Only a lunatic would do something like this. Otherwise, no one would do it. Everyone was guessing one after another, wanting to know who this lunatic was. The incident in the Demon Palace was very big. Almost everyone was guessing whether the person who dealt with the Demon Palace was Longao, who was being hunted down by the Demon Palace. It was very likely. However, everyone knew that even if Longao was talented, he was only an emperor god. Even if he broke through to the god ancestor realm, it was impossible for him to kill 2 experts who were comprehending the chaotic Tao. It was simply nonsense. Since it was not Longao, who could it be? The person who dealt with the Demon Palace had become the biggest mystery. Many people wanted to know, but the Demon Palace blocked the news and would not leak it at all. In the Second Sky region, in the Demon Palace, the huge Demon Palace was locked on to the other party's traces. Killing people in the Demon Palace was a complete provocation, a blatant provocation. The secret cave could bear it, but not the chrysanthemum. If they did not find the person, not only would they lose face, but how would they face the entire chaotic realm? However, one had to know. The Devil Palace was one of the 3 superpowers in the Chaos realm. The Demon Palace, which had been brimming with confidence, had been waiting for 3 whole days. Yet there was still no news. Even though they knew that the other party was definitely still in the Demon Palace, they were still unable to find him. Humiliation. To the Devil Palace, this was a complete humiliation, an enormous humiliation, a humiliation that they had never experienced before, a humiliation that they could not accept. On the 4th day, Wutian, Mo, and Judas finally returned. Jean Tu's sudden disappearance was a serious matter. Under such circumstances, he could no longer care about Longao. In the main hall of the Devil Palace, hearing Mo Wufeng's words, Mo Wutian's face was as ugly as it could get. "Wufeng, according to what you said, this person secretly followed you into the sealed land?" "Yes, Grand Ancestor." After losing the Golden Lion, Mo Wufeng was well aware of the huge trouble he had caused. If the old ancestor were to blame him, he would not be able to bear the consequences. Longao? Mo Wufeng immediately said. Grand Ancestor, I know what you mean. I've thought about it before, but it's impossible. Longao is only a celestial emperor. How could he possibly kill 2 first Dao warriors? With a wave of his hand, Mo Wutian stopped Mo Wufeng from continuing. Mo Wutian continued, if it were anyone else, they would definitely not be able to do it. Only Longao, who was extremely talented back then and even created his own 9-revolution chaos mantra. He was also the one who had the highest chance of attaining the Tao amongst all the chaos reincarnation cultivators. Mo Wufeng was shocked. Mo Wufeng understood the old ancestor's meaning, but he didn't expect the old ancestor to think so highly of Longao. Of course, he knew what it meant to have the highest chance of reaching Tao validation. The most dangerous place is the safest place. Longao may have already reached chaos enlightenment, so this possibility cannot be ruled out. Nodding his head, Mo Wufeng naturally understood the old ancestor's meaning. Whether it was Longao's doing or not, no one could be sure. Grand Ancestor, no one knew that you and old ancestor Zhu Yin sealed the golden eye together. This person killed Yi Fengyun first to lure the tiger away from the mountain. It's obvious that he already knows about the golden eye. Mo Wufeng's meaning was clear. Since it was something no one knew about, how did the other party know about it? And how did he plan to take the golden eye away? The most shocking thing was that the golden eye was willing to be taken away. This was too strange. How could Mo Wutian not understand Mo Wufeng's meaning? This matter was too strange. No matter how he thought about it, he couldn't figure it out. Instead, he said, Wufeng, continue to seal the entire Devil Palace. No matter who this person is, to dare to take away the golden eye and provoke the Devil Palace, I must seal him up and let him know what it's like to live a life worse than death. Mo Wufeng didn't dare to hesitate and immediately increased his efforts. Not only did he begin to seal the Devil Palace, he even began to conduct a carpet search. If it were anyone else, there would be no doubt that they would be searched by the Devil Palace. However, the person they encountered was Longao, a person with a chaotic dantian. Not to mention them, even a chaos reincarnation realm cultivator might not be able to deal with this matter. Longao's meaning was clear. As long as the Devil Palace wasn't paying attention, he would come out of the chaotic dantian and kill as many as he could. Once someone found him, he would immediately enter the chaotic dantian, leaving the Devil Palace with no way to deal with him. As time passed, Mo Wutian felt more and more that something was wrong. If the other party could take away the golden eye without anyone knowing, then he must have a way to leave this place. If that was the case, why didn't he leave? There was only one explanation. Not only did this person want to take away the golden eye, he even wanted to deal with the Devil Palace. At first, Mo Wutian thought that this was definitely Longao's doing. But the more he thought about it, the more he felt that it shouldn't be Longao. After all, he was very clear about Longao's situation. If it wasn't Longao, then who could it be? Mo Wutian personally began to search the Devil Palace. All the Chaos Realm cultivators were mobilized. Not only were there Chaos Realm cultivators, there were even Chaos Realm cultivators. However, no matter how many Chaos Realm cultivators they sent out, it was useless. They still couldn't pinpoint the other party's identity. They couldn't allow this to go on. The longer this dragged on, the more disadvantageous it would be for the Devil Palace. Putting aside the issue of face, if this person were to leave just like that, with the vastness of the primal chaos world and the fact that they didn't know his identity, where would they find him? This was especially so for Mo Wutian and Mo Wufeng. They were the only ones who knew about the existence of the Golden Lion. Chapter 31:51. They could not locate the other party if he disappeared. This could not go on. What should they do? Even Mo Wutian felt helpless and did not know what to do. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that something was wrong. He thought that the other party had chosen to leave, but he did not expect that someone would be killed from time to time. There was no doubt that he had not left the Demon Palace. He was too arrogant. This kind of provocation had never happened since the establishment of the Demon Palace. Other than Mo Wufeng, many chaotic martial artists in the Demon Palace were shocked. They did not expect the ancestor to come out. One had to know that the old ancestor had not appeared for many years. The more it was like this, the more embarrassed they felt. Even the ancestor had come back, but they still could not locate him. It was a joke. Inside the chaotic Dantian, the Demon Palace was becoming more and more concentrated, locking onto him. Under such circumstances, if he wanted to go out and continue killing the Demon Palace members, the difficulty would not be just a little bit higher. Leave? It was not easy to leave at this time. Even if he wanted to cultivate, it was impossible for him to break through to the peak God Ancestor from the Advanced God Ancestor. To break through to the peak God Ancestor from the Advanced God Ancestor, he needed to devour a lot of energy. The chaotic Dantian could not operate on its own. If it could produce chaotic Dantian on its own, there would be no need to worry about energy. However, it was not easy for the chaotic Dantian to produce energy on its own. To do it, he had to break through the chaotic reincarnation, and then cultivate the seventh turn of chaos to the peak of the fourth superpower. It was easy to think about, but very difficult to do. As for the 5 chaotic divine beasts, they had not recovered to their peak. Even Jin Tu and Tao Tai were seriously injured and needed to devour a lot of energy to recover. Energy. In the end, it was a matter of energy. Jin Tu hated Mo Wutian. He wanted to kill everyone in the Demon Palace, but now was not the time. If he fought with Mo Wutian head-on, he would be the one at a disadvantage. Jin Tu's injuries were very serious. He had taken hundreds of elixirs, but only got a little better. One could imagine how seriously injured Jin Tu was back then. Jin Tu, how do you feel? Since Jin Tu had chosen to follow him, Longao would treat Jin Tu as his brother. As the saying goes, do not doubt those you use. Although the Golden Tao did not submit like the other chaotic divine beasts, Longao did not doubt it at all. This was what moved Jin Tu the most. I'm fine. As long as I can devour a large amount of energy, I can recover. Fortunately, my third eye isn't damaged. Otherwise, I would be completely crippled. Of course, Longao knew what Jin Tu meant. The reason why the Golden Lion Divine Beast could become one of the 10 great Chaos Divine Beasts was not because of its strength, but because of its third eye. The third eye of the Golden by Divine Beast was known as the Eye of Destruction. One could imagine how terrifying this eye was. How powerful is this eye of yours? Blackie was very curious. They had never seen the Golden Lion Divine Beast before, even though they were all chaotic divine beasts. Even the other chaotic divine beasts were curious about the legendary Eye of Destruction, let alone the Golden Lion. Among Blackie and the other chaos beasts, only the Taotai divine beast knew how powerful the Eye of Destruction was. If the Golden Lion's third eye reaches its peak state, it can even destroy a heaven domain. Although they already knew that the Golden Lion's third eye was very powerful, they still did not expect the so-called Eye of Destruction to be so terrifying. Jin Tu shook its head and said, "Unless I can prove my Tao, otherwise, even at my peak, I can't destroy the entire heaven domain. However, I should be able to destroy 1/10 of the heaven domain." Even so, it was still quite terrifying. Everyone, including Longao, was very shocked. To be able to destroy 1/10 of the heaven domain, one could imagine what it meant. I can give it a try. Jin Tu, can you still destroy 1/10 of the heaven domain? Blackie asked impatiently. If Jin Tu could really do it, then Blackie could do whatever he wanted in the chaotic realm. Jean too shook its head helplessly and said, I'm seriously injured. Although my third eye is not damaged, I can't use it by force. However, I can use it once, although it can't reach 1/10 of its peak state. At this point, the golden lion divine beast did not continue, but the meaning in its words was very clear. Blackie smiled. Taotai Jiao-ing and Chionyo smiled. Longao also smiled. It really was a good gift for the Demon Palace. Longao wanted to see just how much damage the golden lion divine beast's third eye could do with 1/10 of its power. Longao did not act immediately. Instead, he found a rather secluded place. The people of the Devil Palace had already searched this place, and he believed that they would not return for the time being. In this case, Jean could use his third eye without restraint. Boss, I need all of your help. No matter what price he had to pay, as long as he could bring trouble to the Demon Palace, Longao was very excited. After all, because of Taotai and the celestial demonic flame, he had already shed all pretense of cordiality with Wutian Mo. Old grudges and new grudges would be settled together. Especially when Wutian Mo. And Judas had chased after him without the slightest hint of compromise. Even if he couldn't kill Wutian Mo. now, he had to find some trouble for him. When the day came, he would kill Wutian Mo. Boss, in my current condition, I can only use the Eye of Destruction once. After that, it will be difficult to use it again. If I want to achieve large-scale destruction, I need an endless supply of energy. Nodding, Longao understood Jean Tu's meaning. For them, this was a small matter. There was no hesitation. After all, time was everything to them. Let's begin. Everyone was ready. However, at this moment, the heavenly ghost demon Flame and Xiaohua appeared. They smiled and said, Longao, why don't Xiaohua and I help you? In addition to the primal chaos flame and the burning heart fire lotus, 4 types of heavenly fire and the power of 5 divine beasts of primal chaos will be added to the golden lion's eye of destruction. Chapter 31:52. Longao was taken aback as well. Of course, he knew what it meant to have 4 deviant flames and 5 chaos god beasts stacked together. Longao could not wait any longer. Jean too nodded his head. He did not hesitate any longer. Just then, an eye opened up between Jean too's brows. It was a sparkling eye. Everyone begin. With Longao taking the lead, all the chaos god beasts and deviant flames bolstered themselves. As for the flame of chaos and heart-burning lotus, they bolstered themselves. A terrifying amount of energy flowed into Jean too's body continuously. Boom! There was a loud explosion. The third eye shot out a terrifying amount of energy that spread out instantly. As it spread out, the area expanded. In just a few short seconds, the terrifying amount of energy covered the entire demon palace. Before anyone could react, boom, 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 a terrifying roar rang out through the entire world. Who is it? How dare you destroy my demon palace? I'll devour you. All the chaos god beasts, even those who were in seclusion, were forced out. Even Dao beasts would be killed instantly if they were enveloped by this aura. One could imagine how terrifying the power released by the golden lion's third eye was. Mo Wutian and Mo Wufeng left the palace immediately. Looking at the ruins of the Devil Palace, both of their faces were extremely gloomy and ugly. Without even asking, Mo Wutian knew who was the culprit. Not only did the other party take away Jean Tu, they had even destroyed the Demon Palace. If he was not wrong, the other party was definitely trying to destroy the power that he had built up from scratch. How could he not be enraged? Longao and Jean Tu had long returned to the Chaos Dantian. Even if they were to search every inch of the place, it was to no avail. They could not lock onto Longao's location at all. This was the biggest headache for Mo Wutian and the others. Old Master, what should we do now? The person who felt the most heartache was not Mo Wutian, but Mo Wufeng. Ever since Mo Wutian let go of the Devil Palace's matters, he no longer asked about the Devil Palace's matters. In his heart, cultivation was more important than anything else. Even the Devil Palace couldn't be compared to it. However, Mo Wufeng's situation was different. As the palace master of the Devil Palace, he had deep feelings for the Devil Palace. Naturally, he did not wish to see the Devil Palace being destroyed just like that. Especially after such a thing had happened, where would he put his face? His killing intent soared to the heavens. Find him. No matter what the price is, you must find him. As long as this person was not eliminated, his side would be in a passive position. Who knew what would happen in the future? Mo Wufeng felt helpless and did not say anything. If he had been able to lock onto that person, he wouldn't have waited until now. That person actually dared to destroy the Devil Palace. He was so stealthy that he couldn't even find the other party's shadow. How to lock onto it? Pass down my orders. All the warriors of the chaos, except for those few, are to come out of seclusion. Yes. Even so, Mo Wufeng was still not optimistic. The other party must have a heaven-defying spatial weapon. If even he and the others couldn't lock onto it, it was obvious what that meant. As though he could guess what Mo Wufeng was thinking, Mo Wutian said coldly, "Seems like I'll have to activate the Limitless Demon Formation." Limitless Demon Formation? Mo Wufeng was shocked. Of course, he knew what activating the Limitless Demon Formation meant. Old Ancestor, once the Limitless Demon Formation is activated, the entire second sky will be in trouble. Kill! Seeing that the Old Ancestor had already made up his mind, Mo Wufeng did not say anything more. However, it wasn't worth it for the other party to make such a huge sacrifice. However, there was no other choice. The longer they delayed, the more disadvantageous it would be for the both of them. If this continued, who knew what would happen? When the other warriors of the Devil Palace heard that the Old Ancestor was going to activate the Limitless Demon Formation, they were dumbfounded as well. However, everyone knew the temper of the Old Ancestor, and no one dared to say anything. Everyone in the second sky knew that the Devil Palace had been destroyed. They were all shocked, wondering who had the guts to destroy the Devil Palace. This was no longer a mere provocation. It was a life-and-death battle. Under such circumstances, it was either you die or I die. No matter who it was, unless it was a chaotic reincarnation warrior, no one could go against the entire Devil Palace. Not to mention people, even the other two super forces, the Pill Hall and the Domain Lords Alliance, couldn't really destroy the Devil Palace. Even if the two super forces joined hands, they still couldn't do it. If they could, the Devil Palace wouldn't have existed for so many years, and even occupied the second sky. Thinking about it, one could imagine how terrifying the strength of the Devil Palace was. It wasn't just the second sky, even the other heavens knew that the Devil Palace had been destroyed. It was hard to imagine who would dare to go against the Devil Palace in the chaotic world. Moreover, it was such a relentless method. Inside the Devil Palace, the Devil Palace was now in ruins. Mo Wutian stood in the center of the Devil Palace, surrounded by countless chaotic martial artists. At a glance, there were at least a few thousand of them. This wasn't all the chaotic martial artists in the Devil Palace. From this, one could imagine how terrifying the Devil Palace's foundation was. Mo Wutian himself was an array master. Back in the Heavenly Devil Abyss, he had set up an array to trap the Heavenly Devil Flame. Because of this, ever since Mo Wutian became a chaotic martial artist, he began to set up an array. Moreover, the array he set up was the number 1 array of the Devil Tao, the Limitless Devil Array. The Limitless Devil Array had been set up for hundreds of millions of years. Even Mo Wutian alone couldn't open it, unless thousands of chaotic martial artists worked together. This was the most terrifying array of the Devil Tao. Once it was opened, it would shake the heavens and earth and deter the 9 heavens. Therefore, Mo Wutian wasn't willing to open the limitless devil array unless it was a last resort. Old ancestor, are we really going to open the limitless devil array? Everyone couldn't figure out why he would open the limitless devil array for no reason. Everyone knew very well what it meant to open the limitless devil array. Mo Wutian's face was very gloomy. He said, "This person destroyed our devil palace. If we can't lock onto him, how can we establish ourselves in the chaotic world?" He relied on his spatial divine tool to provoke our devil palace again and again. This is unbearable. Today, I will open the limitless devil array. No matter what price I have to pay, I will kill him. Say no more, I have made up my mind. Everyone, get ready to open the limitless devil array. Chapter 3153. A terrifying amount of energy burst forth from Mo Wutian's body. In the blink of an eye, it had already swept through the surrounding space. The thousands of chaotic martial artists did not say anything more. Since things had already come to this, there was no other choice. The old master was everything. Without the might of the old master, there was no way the chaos world could tolerate them. The alliance of the Pill Hall and the Domain Lord's alliance was something that anyone could imagine. Other than that, the other party had not only destroyed the Demon Palace, he had even killed countless people. There were at least hundreds of thousands of them. If they did not kill this man, how could they face the entire Demon Palace? And at this moment, boom, 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 with the Demon Palace as the center, a terrifying amount of energy began to swirl wildly. Like a gigantic tornado, it surged up into the 9 heavens. Crack! A loud sound rang out. The entire 9 heavens began to be filled with dark clouds. Everything was dusky as an endless amount of demonic chi spread out. Then, something shocking happened. The tornado of demonic chi began to sweep through the entire second sky region. All of the demonic chi in the entire heaven region gathered in the 9 heavens and began to surge towards the Demon Palace. This was the power of the limitless demon formation. All of the demonic chi in the second sky region was gathered within the Demon Palace. Within the chaotic Dantian, Longao was shocked. Mo Wutian is truly gifted. He has already reached the limits of a formation master to be able to set up the limitless demon formation. A formation as such is enough to kill any martial artist below the chaos reincarnation state. Boss, is the limitless demon formation really that powerful? Lin Fan nodded his head. Mo Wutian can be said to be the #1 formation master in the chaos world. He had been hiding his true strength earlier on. Seems like this man is indeed powerful. No matter how much he did not want to believe it, the truth was right before his eyes. He had no choice but to believe it. The faces of Blackie and the others turned grim as well. Boss, since the limitless demon formation is so strong, why don't we leave this place first? It's too late. Longao knew clearly how horrifying this limitless demon formation that Mo Wutian had activated was. As a formation master himself, he naturally knew that this formation could gather all of the demonic chi in the second sky region. If he were to head out now, he would not be able to defend against it. Whether he would live or die was still unknown. Boss, can your primal chaos Dantian withstand the limitless demon formation's attack? Taotai asked worriedly. Longao smiled confidently and said, "If we leave and get trapped by the limitless demonic formation, I'm afraid we'll be doomed. But now, the limitless demonic formation can't lock onto my chaotic Dantian." There was no suspense at all. If one was trapped by the array formation before entering the primal chaos Dantian, it would be difficult to return to the primal chaos Dantian. But now the limitless demon array had been activated. According to Mo Wutian's calculations, it wouldn't take more than a minute for him to use the limitless demonic array to lock onto his opponent's position, regardless of how powerful his opponent's spatial artifact was. But what was the result? Dozens of minutes had already passed, but he still couldn't lock onto the other party. What was going on? Mo Wutian had full confidence in the limitless devil array that he had activated. This was the number one array of the devil Tao that he had spent countless years setting up with great difficulty. Yet, he still couldn't lock onto the other party's position. If he hadn't experienced it personally, he would have found it hard to believe. Ancestor, what should we do now? Mo Wufeng's face was extremely ugly. He hadn't expected that even after activating the limitless demonic array, he still couldn't lock onto the other party's position. Just thinking about it gave him a headache. Not to mention locking onto the other party's position, he didn't even know who the other party was. This was an utter humiliation. Mo Wufeng sighed deeply. If even the limitless demonic array couldn't lock onto the other party's position, what was the point of continuing on like this? Helpless, he could only choose to deactivate the array. No matter what, maintaining it like this wasn't a solution. The destructive power of the limitless demonic array was simply too great. If this were to continue, there was no doubt that within a few hours, the entire second sky would be destroyed. Rebuild the Devil Palace. Since he couldn't lock onto the other party's position, he could only rebuild the Devil Palace first. Otherwise, it wouldn't be long before the Devil Palace suffered yet another huge loss. Even though he didn't care much about the Devil Palace, it was still something that he had built single-handedly. He couldn't bear to see it destroyed. How could Mo Wufeng not understand the ancestor's intention? Not daring to hesitate, he immediately sent people to rebuild the Demon Palace. With the Demon Palace's influence in the second sky, with a single order, countless people worked together. In just a few months, a brand new Demon Palace was built. It was even more magnificent than the previous one. In just a few months, no matter how hard the Devil Palace tried, they still couldn't lock onto the other party's position. Even Mo Wutian thought that the other party might have left. After all, it was a little strange that the other party hadn't appeared for such a long time. Boss, why don't we let Jin 2 reactivate the third eye of destruction? Xiao He was excited just thinking about it. If he could destroy the Devil Palace again, he knew what it meant. However, before Longao could speak, Jin 2 shook his head helplessly and said, I've already said before that I can only use the Eye of Destruction once in my current situation. If I continue to use it forcefully, I'm afraid there will be a huge backlash. So, he didn't continue, but the meaning of Jin 2's words was clear. There was no benefit to Jin 2, and there was even a possibility of a backlash. How could Longao agree to this? It was simply nonsense. Since Jin 2 had chosen to follow him, she was his brother. There was no doubt that he wouldn't allow her to take any risk. Because of this, Longao didn't even think about it and said, Jin 2, don't interfere in this matter. I don't believe we can't do it. With the help of 4 mystical flames and 5 chaotic divine beasts, it was not impossible to deal with the Devil Palace. Jin 2 was very touched. Of course, she knew what Longao meant. From the beginning, she wasn't very willing to follow him. She thought that she was one of the top 10 chaotic divine beasts. How could she follow a puny human? However, as time passed, the dissatisfaction in her heart slowly disappeared. After all, it was only 10,000 years. After 10,000 years, she would leave Longao. It would be best if she could reach the Tao realm with Longao. Even if she couldn't, it wouldn't be bad for her. After thinking it through, Jin 2 said, What should we do next? Chapter 3154. Longao smiled mysteriously. He was unwilling to give up just like that. Since Mo Wutian had rebuilt the Demon Palace, he wondered how Mo Wutian would feel if he did it again. Anyway, he had the chaotic Dantian. It would be impossible for Mo Wutian to lock onto him, let alone deal with him. Without the Golden Lion's third eye, Long Ao still had the strange fire in his hand. Wherever the deviant flame passed, it could be said that not even a blade of grass grew. However, just as Long Ao was about to continue to deal with the demon palace, the situation suddenly changed. "Boss, how are you?" Long Ao couldn't speak at all. His whole body was trembling and sweating. He seemed to be in great pain. Little Hay and the others didn't know what was going on with their boss. Why did this happen all of a sudden? At this moment, Long Ao didn't know what was going on with him. It seemed that there was something wrong with his chaotic sacred body. Before the reincarnation, he didn't have the chaotic sacred body at all. However, he didn't know what was going on. This time, he condensed the chaotic sacred body out of nowhere. Even he was baffled by this kind of body constitution, especially under such circumstances. Long Ao's chaotic sacred body seemed to be slowly communicating with the chaotic dantian in his body and slowly merging with it. Even Long Ao didn't know whether the merging was good or bad. Without any hesitation, Long Ao could only cooperate with the chaotic sacred body to merge with his chaotic dantian. As for whether it was good or bad, it depended on his luck. Time passed by bit, 3 days and 3 nights. After 3 days and 3 nights of merging, Long Ao's chaotic sacred body finally merged with his chaotic dantian. He stood up and sighed deeply. The merging of the two did no harm to him, but the only drawback was that he needed to devour more power to cultivate in the future. He already had a headache before, let alone now. "Boss, are you okay?" "I'm fine. Don't worry." Long Ao didn't say anything about his situation. After all, this kind of thing could only be solved by himself. It was better to rely on himself than on others. He didn't believe that he couldn't return to his peak state. At first, he wanted to deal with the demon palace, but now that the demon palace was on high alert, it was useless to stay here. The most important thing was to break through to the peak of the God Ancestor realm as soon as possible. Comprehending the Tao was the key. Only by successfully comprehending the Tao could one break through from the God Ancestor realm to the chaotic realm. If he wanted to succeed in validating his Tao 10,000 years later, he would first have to restore his primal chaos reincarnation realm. The 6 realms of primal chaos: primal chaos Tao comprehension, primal chaos convergence, primal chaos laws, primal chaos domain, primal chaos life and death, primal chaos samsara. He still had a long way to go. Comprehending the chaos Tao was the first step. There were a total of 3 realms in primal chaos Tao comprehension. One had to comprehend the 3 Taos separately. Long Ao was very clear in his heart that if he followed the previous way of comprehending the Tao, it would definitely be much simpler. However, could he do that? If he followed the previous path of enlightenment, although he could break through faster, it would not benefit him in the future. It was precisely because of this. Long Ao had already thought about it. This time, he had to comprehend the 3 Taos again, even though he knew that it would be a great hindrance to his cultivation speed. He knew that there were tigers on the mountain, but he still went to the mountain. Long Ao was the only one who comprehended the other Taos again. As for the others, such as Nangong Yin and the marvelous mathematician, they continued to comprehend the Tao according to the previous way, so their cultivation speed was much faster than Long Ao's. In addition, Long Ao had the chaotic sacred body, especially now that the chaotic body and the chaotic dantian had completely merged. It was too difficult to successfully comprehend the 3 Taos again. With the help of the chaotic dantian, Long Ao left the demon palace smoothly, but he didn't leave the second sky. Blackie and the others didn't know what their boss meant. Since they had left the demon palace, it was meaningless to continue staying in the second sky. After all, killing some small fries was nothing to the demon palace. The first Tao that I comprehended is the slaughter Tao. After pondering for a while, Long Ao finally locked on to the slaughter Tao. Although he didn't know whether comprehending the slaughter Tao was good or bad for him, since he had already made his choice, he wouldn't regret it. Everyone was shocked when they heard that their boss wanted to comprehend the slaughter Tao, because they knew very well what it meant to comprehend the slaughter Tao. Blackie said worriedly, "Boss, why do you choose the slaughter Tao among the myriad of chaos Taos? You should know what the slaughter Tao means. If you're not careful, you'll suffer a backlash from the slaughter Tao. The consequences will be unimaginable." Boss, Blackie is right. It's really not necessary. Among the myriad of chaos Taos, the slaughter Tao is the most terrifying. Unless you cultivate the slaughter Tao from the beginning, you'll have a chance to comprehend the slaughter Tao. Otherwise, it's very difficult to comprehend it, and you might even suffer a backlash from the slaughter Tao. How could Longao not know what Blackie and Taotai meant? With a smile, Longao firmly said, "If I want to successfully prove my Tao after 10,000 years, I must find another way. Otherwise, after 10,000 years, if we fail at the last step, it won't be as simple as entering the reincarnation cycle." Longao knew very well what it meant to fail in proving his Tao after 10,000 years. It was because of this that he had to take the risk. "Boss." Longao waved his hand to stop Blackie from continuing. He smiled and said, "I've made up my mind. You guys have to do your best to recover. After 10,000 years, we'll prove our Tao together." Blackie and the others knew what their boss meant. There was really no other way. It was hard to change their boss's mind. However, Blackie and the others were still very worried. To comprehend the slaughter Tao, let alone fail, even if it succeeded, they had to be on guard at all times. Otherwise, once they suffered a backlash from the slaughter Tao, the consequences would be unimaginable. "From now on, I'll do my best to deal with the Devil Palace." The slaughter Tao was to comprehend the Tao through continuous slaughter. Under normal circumstances, no god ancestor warriors would choose to comprehend the slaughter Tao. After all, under continuous slaughter, once they were eroded by the slaughter Tao, there would be great repercussions. Since their boss had chosen to comprehend the slaughter Tao, Blackie and the others would support him unconditionally. If he wanted to continue killing, then the second sky region would be the best place for him to comprehend the slaughter Tao. In the following time, Longao began his massacre. All the people of the Devil Palace were killed without mercy. In this way, he prepared to comprehend the slaughter Tao through endless slaughter. He hoped to break through the god ancestor realm and become the so-called One Tao warrior as soon as possible. P.S. Today I saw Watermelon Cow's Great God's Dragon Blood Berserk Master. It's a very hot-blooded fantasy book. You can read it and collect it by the way. Chapter 3155. Demon Palace. In the main hall, listening to the reports from the various elders, Mo Wu Feng and Mo Wu Tian's faces were extremely gloomy, as ugly as it could get. News of the Demon Palace's disciples being killed continued to spread throughout the Second Sky region. If they were not wrong, this person should have left the Demon Palace but had not left the Second Sky region. He was determined to deal with the Demon Palace. Provocation. Blatant provocation. If they did not kill this person, where would the Demon Palace's face go? "Old ancestor, I'll make the arrangements myself." Mo Wufeng waved his hand. Mo Wutian sneered and said, "Pass down the order. Keep the Demon Palace's disciples locked down. Don't go overboard and don't do nothing." What did the old ancestor mean? Under normal circumstances, the old ancestor would definitely increase his efforts if the other party dared to continue killing the Demon Palace's disciples. However, he did not expect the old ancestor to do so. Did the old ancestor choose to give up? Since the old ancestor did not say anything, no one dared to ask. Even Mo Wufeng did not dare to ask. Just like that, 3 months passed in the blink of an eye. In just 3 months, Longao had killed hundreds of thousands of Demon Palace's disciples, including several God Emperor martial artists. As for God Ancestor martial artists, he had not encountered a single one. Longao had underestimated the Slaughter Dao. He had thought that after killing hundreds of thousands of Demon Dao martial artists, he would be able to comprehend the Slaughter Dao. But what was the result? After killing hundreds of thousands of demonic Dao cultivators, Xiao Qin was still unable to comprehend the Dao of slaughter. This was simply inconceivable. It was hard to imagine how much slaughter one would have to go through in order to truly comprehend the Dao of slaughter. It was no wonder that the Slaughter Dao was known as the most domineering Dao. Once one successfully comprehended the Slaughter Dao and became a first Dao martial artist, he would be able to dominate martial artists of the same level. He would even be able to deal with a second Dao martial artist easily. This was the domineering aspect of the Slaughter Dao. Demon Emperor Town. It was a city that was neither big nor small. According to legend, there was a godly emperor in this city, so it was named Demon Emperor Town. Unknowingly, Longao had already entered the Devil Imperial Town. Even though he wanted to comprehend the Tao of massacre, Longao did not kill the innocent. He only appeared when he faced the disciples of the Devil Palace. As for the ordinary Devil Tao martial artists, he would not kill them. However, Longao's thinking was too simple. 90% of the people in the entire Second Sky region were Demon Dao martial artists from the Demon Palace. Devil Palace. Devil Emperor Town. I want to see exactly who it is that dares to provoke my Devil Palace. I will make you suffer a fate worse than death. In order to ensure that nothing went wrong, Mo Wutian left the Devil Palace with a total of 100 chaotic martial artists and headed for the Devil Emperor Town. Although Mo Wutian had only brought out a 20th of the primal chaos martial artists, it was more than enough. According to Mo Wutian's guess, it was very likely that the other party was a chaos warrior. However, he was only a chaos warrior who comprehended the Tao. He only had a space divine item in his hands. As long as he could lock onto the other party's location, everything would be easy. This time, Mo Wutian had come without anyone noticing. Longao had never thought that his location would be locked onto by Mo Wutian so quickly. At the end of the day, Longao had underestimated the power of the Devil Palace. In fact, the Devil Palace was the only power in the Second Sky region. They could cover the sky with one hand and cover every corner. The Devil Palace had already passed down the order for this incident. Therefore, the moment someone was killed in the Devil Imperial Town, the news had already reached the Devil Palace. Longao? Looking at the sudden appearance of Mo Wutian and the 100 chaotic martial artists, Longao only smiled. He was not surprised at all. Ever since the first day he entered the Second Sky region, Longao had already expected this day to come. No matter what, this was the territory of the Devil Palace. Even if he had a chaotic Dantian, he would definitely be discovered by Mo Wutian if he wanted to comprehend the Tao of massacre. However, what Longao did not expect was that the Devil Palace would come so quickly. Longao smiled and said, Mo Wutian, long time no see. How have you been? Endless anger. Suppressing the endless killing intent in his body, Mo Wutian smiled and said, Longao, aren't you going a little too far? Do you really think that I won't dare to kill you? At first, he did not think that it would be Longao. After all, Longao had just ruined his plans in the heavenly devil abyss. How could Longao continue to provoke him? Mo Wutian did not expect that Longao would be so crazy as to dare to come. Mo Wutian, do you think you can do it? Who do you think you are? A puny god ancestor dares to speak to our old ancestor like that. A coward who relies on a spatial divine tool. Fight me if you have the ability. When the hundreds of chaotic martial artists realized that the other party was really just a god ancestor, They were shocked and did not take him seriously. A puny god ancestor could be easily dealt with by any of the hundreds of people here. Among the hundreds of people, no one knew Longao's identity. That was why they were so angry. They did not know why a puny god ancestor dared to speak to their old ancestor like that. He must be courting death. Who do you think you are? Who is your old ancestor? What a joke. There was an uproar. More than 100 people had never seen someone who dared to insult the old ancestor in such a manner. It was simply not putting the old ancestor in his eyes. Everyone was furious. All of a sudden, ha 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 ha. Mo Wu Tian suddenly raised his head to the sky and laughed maniacally. He had never expected that his plan would be ruined by Longao. If he had known earlier, he would have gone all out to deal with Longao. But now it was too late for regrets. He was in a passive position now, but Mo Wu Tian did not like this feeling. The only solution was to get rid of this person. As for the Devil Palace's reputation and the dead people, they were insignificant to him. Mo Wu Tian only cared about one thing, and that was to get the heavenly demonic flame and the divine beast Tao Tai. Although he did not have the slightest confidence, and even if he could subdue the heavenly demonic flame and the divine beast Tao Tai, he might not be able to prove his Tao. But if he could really subdue the heavenly demonic flame and the divine beast Tao Tai, he would definitely be the first person to prove his Tao. Thinking of this, Mo Wu Tian said in an extremely cold voice, "Longao, as long as you return my things to me, I can write off this matter and let bygones be bygones. How about it?" Hearing the old ancestor's words, everyone was completely stunned. The old ancestor actually chose to compromise with someone who dared to challenge the Devil Palace. Chapter 3156. Why was the old master doing this? No one knew, and no one dared to ask. Longao merely laughed coldly. How could he not know what Mo Wu Tian was trying to say? Mo Wu Tian, what is yours? Before Mo Wu Tian could finish his words, Longao continued, "You're truly shameless. Back then, you schemed against them in the heavenly devil abyss. I'll settle this score with you slowly in the future." Ha 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 ha. It was as though they had already guessed that Longao would do this. Instead of getting angry, they laughed out loud. "Since that's the case, kill him." Just as the hundreds of people were about to strike out, Longao disappeared without a trace in the next second. This again. Everyone, including Mo Wu Tian, was exasperated. Others might not know, but how could Mo Wu Tian not know? Back then, Longao possessed the Chaos Dantian. Strictly speaking, it was a Chaos Space legendary weapon, or the Chaos Palace. Back then, everyone had been very wary of this Chaos Spatial artifact. Let alone now. Old Master. Mo Wu Tian waved his hands. No one knew the current situation better than Mo Wu Tian. If they wanted to deal with Longao, they would have to deal with the Longao's Chaos Palace first. Otherwise, all of this would be nonsense. However, dealing with the Chaos Palace in Longao's hands was easier said than done. If it were possible, the Longao back then would not have been able to roam the Chaos world unhindered. The more he thought about it, the angrier he got. What should he do? Not to mention dealing with Longao, even locking onto him was a fantasy. Otherwise, there was no way the Longao could be so fearless. The only thing he could rely on was the Chaos Palace in his hand. His face was getting darker by the moment, looking as terrible as it could get. Just at this moment, the Five Elements' Old Master walked out and bowed respectfully towards Mo Wu Tian. "Old Master, I have an idea that we can try. Let's see if we can lock onto Longao's location." Many people did not know about the actions of Longao. After all, many of them had been in seclusion. If not for this incident, they would not have come out at all. He was overjoyed. Mo Wu Tian asked impatiently, What is it? As long as you can lock onto Longao, you will be my last disciple. Hearing the old ancestor's words, the surrounding people were envious. They knew what it meant to be the old ancestor's last disciple. It was useless to be envious. Who asked him to not have a way to lock onto the other party? He could only look on with envy. Even the Five Elements patriarch didn't expect the old ancestor to be like this. But you have to know. Right now, he was only at the peak of primal chaos convergence. Whether he could comprehend the power of primal chaos precepts and reach the primal chaos precepts realm was still unknown. If he could become the old ancestor's disciple, it would be a pleasant surprise for him. Once that happened, the Five Elements' old ancestor was confident that he could go even further in the future, let alone the so-called primal chaos law. He suppressed the joy in his heart. Ancestor, ever since I started cultivating, I've been cultivating the Tao of the Five Elements. Furthermore, I've already comprehended the Tao of the Five Elements. Mo Wuqian naturally knew about the Five Elements' old ancestor's matters. The Five Elements' old ancestor was considered a genius. Not only did he successfully comprehend 3 out of the 5 elements, he even comprehended the other 2. Back then, the Five Elements' old ancestor had reached the peak of primal chaos convergence. Hence, the Five Elements' old ancestor could be considered an invincible existence among all the primal chaos convergence martial artists. Once one successfully comprehended the Tao of the Five Elements, one could imagine what it meant. However, this kind of martial artist was also very troublesome. Although he could dominate martial artists of the same level, it was extremely difficult for the Five Elements' old ancestor to advance further. Especially to comprehend the primal chaos law, it was countless times more difficult than martial artists of the same level. Mo Wuqian didn't speak. He just listened quietly. Until now, he still didn't know what the Five Elements' old ancestor was talking about. Ancestor, the Tao of the Five Elements that I cultivate can control the surrounding Five Elements space. However, my strength alone isn't enough. I need everyone's help. How can we help? Under such circumstances, as long as he could lock onto Longao and successfully take back the heavenly demonic flame and Taotai beast, he wouldn't have any problems regardless of the price. He was delighted once again. Suppressing the joy in his heart, the Five Elements' old ancestor continued, Ancestor, I heard that there is a primal chaos Five Elements stone in our Devil Palace. There was no need for the Five Elements' old ancestor to say more. Mo Wuqian already knew what he meant. The primal chaos Five Elements stone was useless to him, but it was extremely useful to the Five Elements' old ancestor who cultivated the Tao of the Five Elements. As long as they could deal with Longao, not to mention the primal chaos Five Elements stone, even if they had to sacrifice the entire Devil Palace, it wouldn't matter. Taking out a 5-colored stone, Mo Wuqian said, whether or not we can lock onto Longao's position depends on you. Mo Wuqian excitedly took the primal chaos stone from the ancestor. To others, the primal chaos Five Elements stone was trash. However, to him who cultivated the Tao of the Five Elements, it was the most precious treasure in the world. The Five Elements' old ancestor was full of confidence. If he could become the ancestor's disciple and cultivate with the help of the primal chaos Five Elements stone, the Five Elements' old ancestor even knew that he could reach the primal chaos reincarnation realm in the future. What should I do? Ancestor, I will use the power of the primal chaos Five Elements stone to lock onto Longao's position. When the time comes, everything will depend on you. How could the others, including Mo Wuqian, not know what the Five Elements' old ancestor meant? Mo Wuqian nodded and said, Go ahead and do it. As long as you can lock onto his position, leave the rest to me. Not daring to hesitate, the Five Elements' old ancestor naturally knew how important this matter was to the ancestor. He slowly infused the 5 elements power in his body into the primal chaos 5 elements stone. As expected of a supreme primal chaos divine tool that cultivated the Tao of the 5 elements. With such a heaven-defying treasure, the 5 elements' old ancestor was full of confidence that he could dominate all cultivators of the same level. Even if he encountered a cultivator of the primal chaos laws, he might be able to take a few moves. Without the primal chaos 5 elements stone, this was simply impossible. No one dared to speak. Everyone watched quietly. Without a doubt, everyone hoped that the 5 elements' old ancestor could lock onto Longao's position. The people here were different from Mo Wutian. Mo Wutian wanted the heavenly demonic flame and the Taotai divine beast. However, the others were incomparably furious. This person dared to provoke the Devil Palace again and again. If they didn't get rid of him, how could they establish themselves in the primal chaos world? Where would the Devil Palace's face go? P.S. Many people have privately messaged that the Watermelon Cow Great God's Dragon Blood Berserk God is hotter than the Longao War God. Brothers, he is a great god. However, Little Nine will still work hard. Chapter 3157. Mo Wutian was very nervous. If even the 5 elements patriarch could not lock onto Longao's position, he really did not know what else he could do to lock onto Longao's position. He looked forward to locking onto him. As time slowly passed, the 5 elements patriarch's face suddenly lit up, and he could not wait to say, "Patriarch, I have locked onto Longao's position." Longao, who was in the chaotic Dantian, also knew what was happening outside. He never thought that the legendary chaotic 5 elements stone would fall into the hands of Mo Wutian. The chaotic 5 elements stone was useless to ordinary chaotic martial artists, but to those who cultivated the 5 elements Tao, it was like a treasure. He also did not think that the 5 elements patriarch could really lock onto him with the help of the chaotic 5 elements stone. He did not wait for the other party to make a move. Longao's figure appeared. The heavenly ghost devil flame in his hand came out. Although the heavenly ghost devil flame was severely injured, and its power was less than 1% of its peak, an exotic flame was still an exotic flame. Heavenly ghost devil flame? It's the heavenly ghost devil flame, don't touch it. Everyone was terrified, because everyone knew very well what the heavenly ghost devil flame meant. There were 23 types of exotic flames in the Chaos realm, and the heavenly ghost devil flame was ranked second. One could imagine how powerful the heavenly ghost devil flame was. Why would such a legendary thing appear in the hands of a little god ancestor? They could not figure it out. They really could not figure it out. Among everyone, only Mo Wutian was not surprised at all. If Longao had not gone to the heavenly devil abyss to cause trouble, he might have already subdued the heavenly ghost devil flame and Taotai. The more he thought about it, the angrier he became. It was originally his, but now Longao had taken advantage of him. How could he not be angry? As the saying goes, when enemies meet, their eyes turn red. The heavenly ghost devil flame now knew that it was Mo Wutian who had set it up. If Longao had not appeared in time, the consequences would have been obvious. Mo Wutian wanted nothing more than to tear him to shreds with his bare hands. There was no need to wait for Longao to say anything. The heavenly ghost devil flame itself had already released endless flames, and took the opportunity to attack everyone in the surroundings. "Boss, I'll help you." Xiaohua's figure appeared. Before anyone could figure out what was going on, the situation changed again and again. Another exotic flame? Everyone, including Mo Wutian, was dumbfounded by the sudden appearance of another type of flame. Since when did deviant flames become cabbages that could be found everywhere? But one knew. The entire chaotic realm only had a total of 23 types of deviant flames. Not daring to hesitate, Longao immediately counterattacked. However, it was difficult for two fists to fight against four-hand. Moreover, the opponents were more than 100 primal chaos warriors. In a few short seconds, Longao was hit consecutively. His body was sent flying as he spat out blood. In midair, Longao forced himself to stop. He wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. This time, he was in big trouble. Until now, Longao had not thought that Mo Wu Tian would have the primal chaos 5 elements stone. Not only that, there was actually someone in the Devil Palace who could comprehend the Tao of the 5 elements at the same time. If he had not seen it with his own eyes, he would not have believed it even if he was beaten to death. There was no need to talk about the 5 elements' old ancestors' talent and potential. In the entire primal chaos realm, he was probably the only one who could comprehend the Tao of the 5 elements at the same time. Other than him, he had never heard of or seen anyone who could comprehend the Tao of the 5 elements at the same time. It was too difficult. This was not just about talent or potential. The biggest reason was that, if there were no accidents, this person should be born with the primal chaos 5 elements physique. The 5 elements physique was the most suitable for cultivating the Tao of the 5 element. Now that the 5 elements' old ancestor had the primal chaos 5 element stone, it was obvious what it meant. He was helpless. His luck was really bad. He just had to meet the combination of the 5 elements' old ancestor and the primal chaos 5 elements stone. Otherwise, it would be impossible for Mo Wu Tian and the others to lock onto him. Chapter 3158. Longao, I advise you, it's best if you obediently allow yourself to be captured, otherwise, Mo Wu Tian's intentions were clear. But, would Mo Wu Tian really let him off? Did he really think that Lin Fan was a 3-year-old kid? If Lin Fan were to believe such bullsh*t, he would truly be a fool. Looking at Longao's silence, how could Mo Wu Tian not know what the other party was thinking? Unwilling? Willing your mother! Xiao Hei's figure appeared. Looking at the surrounding chaos martial artists, he said coldly, "You guys are bullying him with numbers, and yet you dare to boast so shamelessly? Shameless to the extreme." Even though many of them did not seem to mind it on the surface, they were conflicted in their hearts. Indeed, this was an extremely shameful thing to do. For so many chaos martial artists to gang up on a mere god ancestor, one could imagine what this meant. But since things had already come to this, they could only pretend that they did not see anything. Once this matter was settled, no matter what happened, they would have to seal off the news and not let it leak out. Otherwise, where would they put their face? Mo Wu Tian did not care at all. The winner is the king, and the loser is the bandit. A loss is a loss. Longao, what do you think? Xiao Hei seemed as though he wanted to say something, but was stopped by Longao. He chuckled. You're right. The winner is the king, and the loser is the bandit. Therefore, there's no such thing as shamelessness. But, Mo Wu Tian, do you really think that you'll win just like this? Ha ha ha. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. Many people started laughing maniacally. In a situation as such, it was clear who would win and who would lose. They could not figure out what sort of backing the other party had for him to still dare to boast so shamelessly at a time like this. This guy was just courting death. But Mo Wu Tian did not laugh. Others might not know about Longao's identity, but how could he not know? Could Longao truly have some sort of backing? It was better to be safe than sorry. What if Longao truly had some sort of backing? If they could not take him down this time around, it would be even harder for them to lock onto him in the future. This time around, they had to kill Longao. Everyone finally realized that something was wrong. Looking at the grim expression on the old master's face, many of them started to get serious as well. I'm not going to play with you guys anymore. I've got to see who can hold me down. Just as he finished speaking, Before anyone could even speak, a map suddenly appeared in Longao's hand, and he directly flew toward the 9 heavens. The Chaos Mythical Beast diagram had already recovered to its peak. However, it was still unknown how much of its power it could unleash. Longao also wanted to give it a try. The Chaos Divine Beast diagram instantly expanded. In just a few seconds, it had expanded countless times. At a glance, a large diagram began to release a terrifying aura. His aura enveloped the area, blotting out the sky and the sun. Scroll of the God-slaying painting? Soon, someone recognized the God-slaying painting. On the other hand, Mo Wu Tian's expression changed drastically. He knew very well that this wasn't the so-called God-slayer painting. Could it be the legendary Chaos Divine Beast diagram in the Chaos realm? Mo Wu Tian was well aware of the significance of the Chaos Beast diagram. Everyone, retreat. Ancestor, I'll go. 2 second Dao warriors rushed out. They didn't believe that a mere god ancestor could have a Chaos Divine weapon. The Chaos Divine weapon was only an aid. It still depended on the user's strength. The difference between a god ancestor and a second Dao warrior was too great. The absolute difference in realm made many people look down on Longao. In the eyes of many people, the reason why Longao was able to be fearless was because he had a spatial divine tool to rely on. Otherwise, the other party was not even a fart. The speed of the 2 warriors from the chaotic Dao was extremely fast. Their speed soared to the limit and they attacked Longao from both sides. But what was the result? The 5 Chaos Divine Beasts activated the Chaos Divine Beast diagram at the same time. A huge tornado instantly engulfed the 2. Before they could react, the tornado had already swept them into the Chaos Divine Beast diagram. Just as expected, Longao was just guessing. With his current strength, he couldn't exert the power of the Chaos Divine Beast diagram. Even if he was at his peak, it was impossible. Since the Chaos Divine Beast diagram required 10 Chaos Divine Beasts, Longao wondered how powerful it would be if the Chaos Divine Beasts controlled the Chaos Divine Beast diagram. However, he couldn't gather the 10 Chaos Divine Beasts yet. If he could, he believed that the 5 Chaos Divine Beasts could control the Chaos Divine Beast diagram together. Now, it seemed that it was true. As long as he could sweep the 2 second Dao warriors into the Chaos Divine Beast diagram, he would have the final say in their life and death. Everyone who did not put Longao in their eyes was shocked when they saw how powerful this chaotic divine tool was. They did not dare to continue fighting. In fact, with the power of the Chaotic Divine Beast diagram controlled by the 5 Chaotic Divine Beasts, it could at most sweep away 2 Dao warriors. Once it encountered more than 3 Dao warriors, it would not be able to sweep them away. However, humans were like that. Even Chaos Divine Beasts were like that. Seeing the 2 Chaos Divine Beasts being swept away by the Chaos Divine Beast diagram, everyone felt a lingering fear. Fortunately, they didn't make a move. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been the 2 Chaos Divine Beasts that were swept away. Not to mention the others, even Mo Wu Tian was forced to take 3 steps back. If he had been at his peak, he wouldn't have cared about the other party. But now, even though he had successfully awakened his Yuan spirit, he had only just recovered his 3 Daos of chaos. Who knew if the other party's divine tool could deal with him? He didn't dare to take the risk. If he lost, the consequences would be unimaginable. Taking advantage of this, Longao naturally wouldn't give up. He immediately headed to the left. But before he left, he immediately sent a message to the 5 Chaos Divine Beasts. His message was simple. Whether he left or not, there was one thing he had to do first. Otherwise, even if he left, it wouldn't solve the problem. If he wanted to solve the problem completely, he would have to deal with the 5 Elements Old Ancestor first. Although the 5 Elements Old Ancestor was a chaotic divine beast, the 5 elements old ancestor was only a second Tao warrior. The 5 divine beasts of chaos could control the chaos divine beast diagram and deal with the 5 elements old ancestor. Whether it was a massacre or a massacre, the 5 elements old ancestor must be dealt with. Of course, the 5 chaos divine beasts knew what their boss meant. They also knew the consequences of not dealing with the 5 elements patriarch. Without any hesitation, just as Mo Wutian and the others were retreating, the 5 Chaos Divine Beasts controlled the Chaos Divine Beast diagram and began to madly attack the 5 Elements Patriarch. From the beginning to the end, the 5 Elements Old Ancestor didn't expect the Old Ancestor to take the initiative to avoid him. Before he could even react, he was already enveloped by the Chaos Divine Beast diagram. Chapter 3159. Old Ancestor, Save Me! The 5 Elements Patriarch was dumbfounded when he saw the 2 second Tao warriors being swept away. However, it was too late for Mo Wutian to save them. In an instant, before the 5 Elements Patriarch could react, he was already swept away by the Chaos Beast diagram. Let's go! Longao disappeared from the spot and entered the chaotic Dantian with the Chaos Beast diagram. Silence. It was exceptionally quiet. Hundreds of Chaos warriors, Old Ancestor, and the 5 Elements Patriarch had escaped in the end. Mo Wutian and the rest were not fools. They knew that the other party could only kill second Tao warriors at most. 3 or more Tao warriors were no match for him. However, it was too late for regret. Not only had Longao disappeared, but even the 5 Elements Patriarch had been swept away. The 5 Elements Patriarch and the Chaos 5 Elements Stone had disappeared. Under such circumstances, it was impossible for them to continue to lock onto Longao. Endless anger. No one dared to say anything because they knew very well that the Old Ancestor must be extremely angry under such circumstances. In the chaotic Dantian, the 2 second Tao warriors who had been swept away had been devoured by the 5 Chaos Beasts. Not even dregs were left. Only the 5 Elements Patriarch was left. Without Longao's order, the 5 Chaos Beasts would not casually devour him. 2 second Tao martial artists were good nourishment for the 5 divine beasts of chaos. Where is this? The 5 Elements Patriarch asked and felt that his brain had gone haywire. There was no need to ask further. He must have been swept into the space artifact in the hands of the other party. It was a space artifact that even the Old Ancestor could not lock onto. He knew that he was being controlled by the other party. Even the Old Ancestor might not be able to save him. 5 Elements Patriarch, can I see the Chaos 5 Elements Stone in your hands? Could it not? Under such circumstances, unless the 5 Elements Patriarch was out of his mind, how could he not hand over the Chaos 5 Elements Stone? No matter how unwilling he was, he could only hand it over reluctantly. He could not even keep his life, let alone the Chaos 5 Elements Stone in his hand. Looking at the Chaos Elemental Stone in his hand, Longao's eyes lit up. As expected of the legendary treasure of the Chaos Realm. If the chaotic 5 Elements Stone fell into the hands of the 5 Elements Old Ancestor, and if the 5 Elements Old Ancestor could become a chaotic reincarnation realm warrior, it was obvious that the 5 Elements Old Ancestor could surpass many warriors of the same level. This was the power of the primal Chaos 5 Elements Stone. However, such a treasure was completely useless to other chaotic martialists. The 5 Elements Patriarch didn't dare to say anything. His life was in the hands of others. At this moment, if Longao wanted him to die, he would die. If he wanted him to live, he would live. Boss, how should we deal with this shameless bastard? Xiao He knew his boss's personality very well. If his boss really wanted to kill the other party, then there was no doubt that he would not have asked the 5 of them to show mercy. 5 Elements Patriarch, I can return this primal 5 elemental stone to you, and I can also spare your life. Staring at the young man in front of him, the 5 Elements' old ancestor had no idea what was going on. It wasn't easy for the other party to trap him. How could the other party not kill him? Conditions? There was no free lunch in the world. It was impossible for the other party to let him go for no reason. There must be conditions. However, compared to his life, it seemed that other things were not worth mentioning. As long as you choose to submit to me. As expected. He wasn't surprised at all. If the other party didn't even state any conditions, then he definitely wouldn't choose to believe it. Without even thinking, he nodded and said, "Okay, I'm willing to serve you." A wise man submits to circumstances. The 5 Elements Patriarch was very clear about this. If he didn't agree, then it wasn't a matter of whether he was willing or not, but whether he could leave alive. 5 Elements Patriarch, you were at the primal chaos peak before. Why could you only display the strength of a second Tao warrior just now? This was what Longao was most curious about. If the 5 Elements Patriarch was at the peak of the primal chaos peak, even if the 5 divine beasts of chaos controlled the chaos beast diagram together, they couldn't defeat the 5 Elements Patriarch. It was because he sensed that the 5 Elements Patriarch's realm suddenly regressed and his strength was only at the second Tao warrior that he changed his mind and let the 5 divine beasts of chaos use the chaos beast diagram to deal with the 5 Elements Patriarch. Was it because of the primal 5 Elements stone? Just as expected. Boss, you don't know. The Chaos 5 Elements stone isn't as simple as it looks. When I just got this Chaos 5 Elements stone and locked onto you, the power in my body was instantly sucked out. Even my realm was directly reduced from the primal chaos peak to the second Tao warrior. So that was it. Longao certainly knew what the 5 Elements Patriarch meant. It seemed that the Chaos 5 Elements stone wasn't as simple as he thought. He said, "Since your cultivation was reduced to the second Tao warrior because of the Chaos 5 Elements stone, can you recover to the primal chaos peak?" But it should be known that the gap between the primal chaos peak and the primal chaos peak was very big. Some primal chaos peak warriors, even if they could comprehend 3 Taos, might not be able to successfully reach the primal chaos peak in their lifetime. If the 5 Elements Patriarch recovered to the primal chaos peak, then he would be doomed. The 5 Elements Patriarch wasn't worried at all. He smiled and said, "Boss, you don't have to worry. Although my power was temporarily devoured by the Chaos 5 Elements stone, but with this treasure, I can almost guarantee that I can recover to the primal chaos peak in about a month." A month's time, for a primal chaos peak warrior, was just a blink of an eye. Longao heard the 5 Elements Patriarch's words and finally heaved a sigh of relief. As long as the 5 Elements Patriarch could recover his original strength, a primal Chaos Peak expert with the Chaos 5 Elements stone would be of great help to him. "Boss, Missouri Wu Tian is guarding outside now. How do we leave?" Blackie, of course, knew the seriousness of the matter. Even so, Boss had subdued the 5 Elements Patriarch and temporarily didn't have to worry about him being locked onto. But the 5 Elements Patriarch situation was completely different from theirs. They could stay in the primal chaos Dantian forever, but the 5 Elements Patriarch couldn't. If the 5 Elements Patriarch was forcefully teleported out, the consequences would be obvious. How could Longao not know what Blackie meant? Longao smiled and said, "Mo Wu Tian can't lock onto us, so he will definitely choose to give up temporarily. As for the 5 Elements Patriarch, let him out later." Wasn't letting the 5 Elements Patriarch send him to his death. Chapter 3160. Everyone was flabbergasted, including the 5 Elements' old master. Since he had already chosen to submit, Why would Longao still want to kill him with a borrowed knife? Rather than go through so much trouble, he might as well just kill himself. What was the point of doing so? Longao chuckled. If the 5 elements old master doesn't leave, you'll be teleported out as well. By then, you'll be dead for sure. The 5 elements old master was no fool. Instantly, he understood what Lin Fan meant. Half an hour later, boom, boom, boom. Just as Mo Wutian and the others were wondering what to do, suddenly, the situation changed. The 5 elements old master, who had been sucked into the Chaos Beast diagram, reappeared before everyone's eyes. Everyone was shocked, wondering why the 5 elements old master would appear. A total of 3 people were sucked in, and the other 2 did not come out. Could there be something fishy going on? Old master, the other party's legendary weapon, is nothing to worry about. It can only deal with level 2 martial Dao enlightenment. Nodding his head, Mo Wutian had already guessed that the Chaos Beast diagram in Longao's hands could only deal with level 2 martial artists. As for level 3 martial artists and above, there was no way it could deal with them. Hurry, lock onto Longao's position. As long as the 5 elements old master was fine, everything would be fine. If anything happened to him, even the Chaos 5 elements stone would be lost. By then, it would be even more difficult to lock onto Longao's position. Without hesitation, the 5 elements old master began to lock onto Lin Fan. A few minutes later, Longao's figure appeared once more. This time around, Mo Wutian did not hesitate at all as he led everyone in a frenzy to attack Longao. No matter the price, they had to take him down. The longer they dragged this out, the more disadvantageous it would be for them. But the outcome? This time, Longao did not clash head-on with everyone at all. Instead, he headed straight underground. With the 5 Chaos Beast diagrams paving the way, Longao's speed was pushed to its limit. Mo Wutian had not expected that Longao would choose to head underground. Full pursuit. Several hours later. In the end, they had still let Longao escape. It was simply a disgrace. Mo Wutian was even more furious. He had personally witnessed the might of the heavenly ghost devil flame, but it did not belong to him. It was taken away by Longao just like that. Ancestor, the 5 elements patriarch has disappeared. What happened? If it was any other time, he wouldn't even look at the 5 elements patriarch. However, the situation was different now. Only the 5 elements patriarch could lock onto Longao's position. If something happened to the 5 elements patriarch, things would be troublesome. Old ancestor, we don't know what happened either. The 5 elements old ancestor disappeared for no reason. Mo Wutian's intuition told him that this matter was not so simple. Could there be something fishy about this? The more he thought about it, the more he felt that something was amiss. Although the 5 elements patriarch was a chaos convergence martial artist, because he had forcefully used the Chaos 5 element stone, his realm was directly reduced to a second Dao martial artist. What did this mean? The Chaos Divine Beast diagram in Longao's hand had already engulfed 3 people, and the other 2 second Dao martial artists had not returned. It was obvious what the result was. He was dead for sure. If that was the case, how could the 5 elements patriarch leave alone? Longao wasn't dead. If that was the case, then there was only one explanation. The 5 elements patriarch had chosen to submit to Longao so that he wouldn't be killed. Mo Wutian still didn't understand. Since the 5 elements patriarch had chosen to submit to Longao, why did he come out and do nothing? It was inconsistent. Search for them. No matter what, you have to find traces of them. Yes, Mo Wutian had completely sealed off the demonic imperial town, so the news couldn't be leaked. Therefore, other than the chaos martial artists, only the upper echelons of the demon palace knew. Of course, Longao didn't leave the second sky. Boss, if I leave for no reason, the devil palace will definitely look for me everywhere. The Five Elements Patriarch did not continue speaking, but the meaning in his words was very clear. How could Longao not understand? This was indeed a troublesome matter. The Five Elements Patriarch was different from him. He had a chaotic dantian and could enter it at any time. He wasn't afraid of the demon palace at all. The Five Elements Patriarch's situation was completely different. Once he was targeted by the demon palace, the result would be obvious. Not to mention that the Five Elements Patriarch was only a second Dao martial artist now. Even if he recovered to Chaos martial artist a month later, he wouldn't be able to compete with the demon palace. There was no doubt about it. What should he do? Boss, why don't we let the Five Elements Patriarch stay in the second sky to cultivate? The most dangerous place is the safest place. I believe the demon palace wouldn't think that the Five Elements Patriarch would stay in the second sky to cultivate. How could Longao not know what Xiao He meant? He shook his head and said, "If it was before I came back, it would be safe for him to stay here. But now Mo Wu Tian isn't a fool. How could he not think of this? If he stays here, I believe the demon palace will find him soon." Then what should we do? Longao lowered his head and began to ponder. Regardless of whether he had a hostile relationship with the Five Elements Patriarch before, since the Five Elements Patriarch had chosen to follow him, he was his brother. Longao certainly wouldn't give up on the Five Elements Patriarch so easily. If there's no other way, you can cultivate in the soaring dragon starry sky. This was the only way. The Five Elements Patriarch shook his head and said helplessly, "The starry sky bidwall is very special. Once we Chaos martial artists step into it, it will be a great hindrance to our future cultivation. I don't want to enter the starry sky bidwall unless it's a last resort." Longao nodded. Of course, he knew what it meant for Chaos martial artists to forcibly enter the starry sky bidwall. In particular, staying in the starry sky bitwall for a long time to cultivate would be a great hindrance to one's cultivation. Not to mention the Five Elements Patriarch, no one would be willing to do such a thing. However, the current situation was very troublesome. The second sky was the territory of the Demon Palace. As long as the Demon Palace gave the order, the entire second sky would be turned upside down. Thinking about it, as long as the Five Elements Patriarch didn't leave the second sky, he wouldn't be safe. As for Mo Wu Tian, after returning to the Demon Palace, he sat quietly in the main hall. No one dared to speak, including Mo Wufeng. This was because everyone knew very well that the old ancestor must be extremely angry because of this matter. At this time, whoever dared to provoke the old ancestor was simply tired of living. This couldn't go on. The other party had a spatial divine tool. Not to mention dealing with Longao, it was impossible to lock onto him. Chapter 3161. The Devil Palace had already released the news. This time, it was Longao's doing. As soon as the news came out, the entire chaotic world trembled. Everyone couldn't believe it. They didn't know what was going on with Longao and why he kept provoking the Devil Palace. Could it be that there was a grudge between the two sides? Even if there were enemies, the Devil Palace's power was there. Longao alone was not enough to deal with them. However, it was already very amazing that Longao could do this. But thinking about it, it was still unbelievable. As one of the three super forces in the chaotic world, the Devil Palace had countless chaotic world cultivators. Longao was just a god ancestor. One word, crazy. Almost everyone could be sure that Longao destroyed the Devil Palace, and the Devil Palace would definitely not let it go. Especially now. According to the rumors, Longao was still in the second sky, which was the territory of the Devil Palace. It was obvious what the result would be. It boded ill. However, there were still many people who were very optimistic about Longao. To be able to destroy the Devil Palace and kill so many disciples without being found by the Devil Palace, what kind of concept was this? There was no doubt about it. Longao must have something to rely on. Otherwise, how could he dare to casually step into the second sky, unless there was something wrong with his head? No one had ever done it before, and no one would ever do it again. Longao was simply a fearless madman who didn't even put the Devil Palace in his eyes. He was a madman who even dared to destroy the Devil Palace. Everyone was waiting for the news from the second sky to see what the final result of this battle would be. 90% of the people didn't want anything to happen to Longao. After all, for so many years, Longao was the first person who dared to provoke and destroy the Devil Palace. Longao didn't leave because the Devil Palace had sealed off the entire second sky. All the teleportation formations were blocked. It seemed a bit troublesome to leave. It didn't matter to him. The most important thing was the 5 elements old ancestor. If the Devil Palace locked onto the 5 elements old ancestor's position at this time, it was obvious what the situation would be. The 5 elements patriarch had successfully recovered his primal chaos, but it was still not enough to face the Devil Palace. Any random martialist of the chaotic laws from the Devil Palace could easily kill the 5 elements patriarch. There was no doubt about it. It was precisely because of this. He had to think of a way to transfer the 5 elements old ancestor as quickly as possible. In the end, "Boss, if you do this, you'll be in big trouble." The 5 elements patriarch was very moved because Longao's intention was very clear. He wanted to use himself as bait to lure one of the teleportation arrays away and let him leave. Longao just smiled and didn't care. 5 elements old ancestor, I won't beat around the bush. After you leave the second sky region, immediately find a place to cultivate. Remember, don't come out casually. 5 elements patriarch nodded. Of course, he knew the seriousness of the matter. Come find me when you've refined the Chaos Elemental Stone and broken through to the peak of the primal chaos laws. Got it. Demonic Emperor Town. Even if Mo Wutian was beaten to death, he would never have thought that Longao would come back. Second, the upper heaven domain was different from other heavenly domains. There were dozens of teleportation arrays. There was a teleportation array in the demonic Emperor Town. Longao appeared to lure everyone away. As a super expert of the Devil Palace, the 5 elements patriarch certainly knew how to activate the teleportation array and leave smoothly. At this moment, Longao finally heaved a sigh of relief. Now that the 5 elements patriarch had left, he had nothing to worry about. In order to comprehend the slaughter Dao, Longao began to kill crazily again. Anyway, most of the people here were from the Devil Palace. It didn't matter how many he killed. This was the real reason why he stayed in the second sky region. Longao was really crazy. He was going to comprehend the so-called slaughter Dao in the second sky region. Only by successfully comprehending the slaughter Dao could he advance to the chaos Dao comprehension. However, Longao was only a high-level god ancestor now. Not to mention the chaos Dao comprehension, he was only one step away from the peak god ancestor. If he wanted to advance from the high-level god ancestor to the peak god ancestor, he would need to devour a lot of energy. Longao didn't want to go through so much trouble. He was going to comprehend the slaughter Dao directly and advance to the chaos Dao comprehension, surpassing the peak god ancestor. As for whether it would work, it was still unknown. If he could advance to the chaos Dao comprehension directly, it would be a very exciting thing. The 5 elements patriarch had not been found yet. It was as if he had disappeared into thin air. Even if Mo Wutian was a fool, he had already guessed what had happened. He had never thought that the 5 elements patriarch would betray the Devil Palace and choose to submit to Longao. Since he dared to betray the Devil Palace, Missouri Wutian directly ordered to hunt down the 5 elements patriarch. He wanted to see him alive or dead. However, the Five Elements Patriarch had already left the second sky region. As long as the Five Elements Patriarch hid, even the Devil Palace would not be able to find him. After receiving the news from the demonic Emperor Town, Mo Wutian was very sure of his guess. However, the Five Elements Patriarch had already left. Patriarch, what should we do now? Mo Wufeng was at his wits' end as well. As the Palace Lord of Devil Palace, this was the last thing he wanted to see. However, it was happening right in front of his eyes. He was just a Chaos Dao Master. Even if he were to face Longao, he wouldn't have any hope of winning. How could Mo Wutian not know what Seamless was thinking? His expression was extremely gloomy as he said in an extremely cold voice, "Don't spread the news about the Five Elements' old ancestor. Send people to secretly investigate. Remember, regardless of whether the Five Elements' old ancestor is dead or alive, you must bring back the primal Five Elements stone." Yes, Patriarch. Mo Wutian would never have thought that the Five Elements Patriarch would choose to betray the Devil Palace. Otherwise, how could he give the Chaos Five Elements stone to the Five Elements Patriarch? It was simply nonsense. However, it was too late to regret now. Mo Wutian did not care about the Five Elements Patriarch's life or death. Although the Chaos Convergence was strong, there were many of them in the Devil Palace. The only thing he cared about was the Chaos Five Elements stone. As long as he could find another martial artist who cultivated the Five Elements Dao, he could replace the Five Elements Patriarch and lock onto Longao's location. Therefore, the Chaos Five Elements stone was the key. No matter what, he had to get it back. The Five Elements Patriarch's matter was not that important. After all, the Chaos Five Elements stone was dispensable to him. Other than being able to lock onto Longao's location, the Chaos Five Elements stone was no different from trash to him. However, it was different to deal with Longao. He had to get the Heavenly Devil Flame and Taotai back. Especially after witnessing the power of the Heavenly Devil Flame, you're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.